I don't know. I just know. Run, bear, Indian water, little white dove, Indian maid.
Sun comes out, man. People just go crazy.
No kidding. Pretty much made after Romeo and Juliet.
Hey, Chris,
Yeah.
when I was a boy, I was an Eagle Scout. Now I'm a bald eagle.
I see what you did there, Roger.
That's pretty good.
You've been working on that all day?
I have. Yeah.
Excellent delivery. Nice timing.
Is there a pen for that?
Through the swirling streams I came.
How are you?
Doing good.
Hey,
Are we having auditions today?
no, it's just me.
It's American Idol night?
No, I already got kicked off.
Didn't make the first cut, huh?
No, I didn't.
Everybody studying for the final exam?
Hey, Paulie, did you get her done?
Some of it knocked out? Looks like we're building a bridge. All right.
Sort of.
Kurt, how you,
Real good, Paul.
you stay up straight the other day all the way?
What's that?
Did you stay up straight the other day all the way on the canoe? Is that you in the canoe?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I stay up. I can stand up in my canoe.
Well, just wanted to make sure. I had to go inside, I couldn't keep track of you. I asked the wife to do it, but
I've been doing that
she
for
was
years.
busy also.
I assume you're gonna have a lot to say on this too.
Yeah.
Or is that in your manager's report?
No, it's just, I just
All right.
figured
Oh,
it's gonna be part of the discussion.
I'll probably start it with you then. So you can also, you guys talk about proposals for that and how it can be changed and all that. That's new information.
Did you get Jim going straighten out over there?
No. In fact, he was so unstraight that I had to back out of my driveway to get around his car. He likes Scotch whiskey. He didn't tell me. Hey, let me check real quick my email.
Does anybody know when Endeavor's coming to the south side of the lake?
What are you doing?
Down by the Patriots Lake?
It's to the firehouse, but they did a special deal to go to the firehouse. We got 22 of the 25 houses to sign up.
They did or didn't get enough?
Yes.
They did.
And they're doing that now, that's why all the houses out there on the ground. The
Oh, okay.
rumor is they're gonna do the rest of the Mill Springs in that area.
Yeah.
Rumor. If, they're gonna put them on the poles, not underground.
Oh, okay.
So it's a petition on that, it's in the plan.
So do you know which side of
Maybe
the,
gonna be here.
are they gonna do it on Lakeside in the ground or on the other side of the ground? You know,
I understand the non-lake side.
non-Lakeside?
It's easier to run it down there, there's nothing can be handled.
I figured, but they also marked the sewer line on the lakeside. So I didn't
Well,
know
once they put it in, they're gonna have to run it under whatever they do with that.
to get to people. Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I figured.
make trouble.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. My parents are down there, so.
You got all but one
I
digit.
think we needed
ready
it
to
at the
go.
firehouse for trainings and everything
Oh,
going
yeah.
on.
We'll grab that and
Just
we'll
have
have
it.
right here.
Feed it
out.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it doesn't come to that.
I get this orchestrated.
What's that? Better get you in here. Later? Yeah. Good, good.
Yep.
Yep.
Good judgment, by the way, not sharing the person that lost your vote on driveway refinishing.
Yeah.
Doesn't pay to do a shoddy job, does it?
You know, I could be a lot worse about it too. That's the thing, I mean, community like this, we're asking each other for what your experience was.
Yeah.
You do a bad job on somebody's place, that's it. Kinda keeps you honest a little bit, doesn't it?
You would think.
Hey, Tom.
So when did you guys get uniforms?
Meeting tomorrow.
Pretty cool.
Well, we want to be more easily identifiable when we're out and about. Get you guys able to find us when we're out in the crowd and if you have a question.
I
And
don't think.
it's all part of the, let's talk kind of,
Oh, that's a good idea.
yeah.
Got somebody
Some are
there.
backwards.
It's good for a hunt.
Just got mine today.
Have a target on the back.
I
You
got
want to
changed.
step in the changing room back
You're
there?
exactly right.
I think it's a good idea, because if for some reason they're throwing rocks, they'll miss me and throw them at the blue.
Human shields, is that what we
We
are?
have the community
Back here, we're not in the
safety in
camera
our
view, so.
Oh, I see.
I've learned that
It's
from-
easier to throw rocks or tomatoes from back there. Can't see where they came from.
They're made out of Kevlar.
No replay. Just be sure they.
They're made out of
They're not
Kevlar.
me.
Oh, good idea.
How are you?
Will Anita be?
No, she's cooking. No. Got stuff to take her?
This, I said I'd get this information
Anita's
to
not
for a
gonna
while
be
ago,
here.
and
I think Linda
finally
Williams
remembered.
Is this all the
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah, she's the one that brought it to
Okay.
me. She
Okay.
messaged
I'll
me.
see her tonight.
Yeah.
I think it's between the two of them. As long as I'm okay.
She wanted me to come by and see a bench or something, or a swing or something, glider, but
Yeah,
they
for,
fall.
just so yeah, that's all right. I don't know.
I did respond back to her and I told her that we added on the agenda so she could speak. Did you? It's a good thing it's a bewitching hour.
It's upgraded to cable the whole thing, not just web.
One blue shirt for another blue shirt.
Sad I got here on time.
Time to spare, man. How you doing, AJ?
I think I was gonna make it in time to change my shirt. For official dress day. It don't match my pants.
Okay, sweet. I'm not the only one.
Someone might say, wow, apparently you're too good for us. It's okay.
You don't have a pair of pants that would match a blue shirt?
I'd have to hurry up. I would have been had to get home earlier.
I mean, I'm supposed to get on. Burn each other's house down. This is fun. You got a chance there.
Hey, wait a minute.
Surely between the two of you.
They took the boat out to the hours. Got a video, picture for shelf practice.
This whole thing. I seen it. He called me and he goes, Jim, he said, Jim was reading it. I don't see, know what he's reading.
I'm gonna bring it in tonight. Fill it out on the counter. So focus on getting.
Is that what we budgeted? Is that the same as? Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that'll work.
Was that? Oh, that's, okay.
That's my favorite one.
How are you? Good. Are you gonna make any? No, we were supposed to sit.
Some people's children.
I say Jen.
That's Jen. No, I need to get my.
Never have you?
Chris, did you ask him what the count is?
Yeah.
That doesn't say what the votes for.
Upside down.
Because at least with the gates up, we can.
Illegal.
Or maybe we only go with the. Only up.
207, and it's, we're letting them straight. So, the guy next door is gonna sell part of his lot here too. So it's gonna be a fight between the two people.
I don't know.
But they have to submit the plan.
Actually, this right here, this is like.
Then once you force them to take it out.
That's like a secure cabin.
Very hard. So he gets it.
Persistence. Persistence.
Then once
You saw me trying to hide it.
When they throw it in the house.
even he's got. No, issue. Not issue.
Shannon's in the know.
I know. Why is that the issue?
Thank you, Dave, morning.
I don't know what they do without it.
I just got my, feel a little.
All right, I got 7 o'clock. Everybody please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. This is the April 8th, 2019 Board of Directors meeting. Before we get going on the agenda, first of all, it's really good to see so many people in attendance. I appreciate that. If a lot of you are here to talk about the covenant issue, that's going to be at the end of the meeting. So you're going to have to listen to all the other stuff for a while and get forced information that you maybe didn't come for, but hopefully you'll find beneficial. Before I begin the agenda, I want to remind everybody that everybody sitting up here, everybody that works on our committees, on our teams, are all volunteers. Volunteering is really hard work. It's a big sacrifice. It takes a lot of time that most people don't see. The benefits are just fantastic for this community, for our neighbors. Unfortunately, one of our board members had to make a tough decision, is to spend more time with his family, dealing with family issues than which would impact his ability to serve on the board. So Ken Riggin gave me his resignation today. Ken was a fantastic representative of this community, specifically the folks that utilize the campground. We didn't really have much of a voice for those folks until Ken got on the board, so he's going to be a big loss. He was very kind, he was patient, he listened to a lot of people, and I'm sure he had a lot of friends in the community. So if you see him out and about, shake his hand, thank you for his time, and support him in whatever he's going to do next. I don't expect he'll be far from the community, but I think we owe him a debt of gratitude, so make sure that you give him that. Thank you. Here's his letter of resignation. I don't know if you need to keep it. First order of business, announcements, Clear Creek Conservancy, Dwayne Kelly.
Dwayne Kelly, 282 Patriots Landing. Don't really have, and we don't have any projects going, but I'd just like to remind everybody again, we talk to your neighbors and see if we can get the inflow of all the products that are not supposed to be flushed down the stool slowed down a little bit. We get diapers, wet wipes, feminine products. It piles up the pumps to the point that normally the guys have to pull a pump. It's very expensive to do that, time consuming. So it's in the highlights, it's on the internet, for if you know any neighbors that don't participate in any of those things, pass the word on to them that you need all the help on that we can get.
We're not even in busy season yet. If it's an issue now, we really got to be aware that it's going to be magnified once everybody's family and friends comes out and visits and makes some bad decisions or just isn't aware, so.
To add to that, Dwayne, there's been an advertisement around for years, the 3 Ps, paper, pee, and poop. Pretty easy to remember, the 3 Ps, as long as it's toilet paper.
Yeah.
Flushable wipes are not flushable, read
That's
that.
right.
Newspaper is not the same as paper.
The manufacturer puts flushable on there for his sales, but they're not, they are flushable, yeah, they're just not biodegradable. They'll pile
So is a
up.
hot box, or a matchbox car too, but they don't go through your pumps very good.
All right, thank you, Dwayne. Floyd Township Fire Department, Brian Irvin. I don't think
Brian's not here, but I got a quick one here for him. Jeff Brooks, 123 Patriots Landing. We're 53 runs for the year. We are looking at the possibility of a new grass truck / woodland truck for next year. There's a group going to the FDIC conference, which is a firefighters national conference in Indianapolis this week, to look at possibilities for ideas for a truck. We will be doing the annual ribeye fundraiser on Memorial Day weekend again as well.
Thank you, Jeff. Neighborhood Watch, April Land. I don't think Neighborhood Watch has met yet for the first time this year. I think their meeting is coming up sometime in the next couple weeks, next week I believe, so hopefully we'll get an update from them at the next board meeting. HLCS, I didn't see Harold. Harold, are you here behind a taller person? No, I don't see Harold. Hellnack? Any update from Hellnack?
I've got a reminder that on April 18th and 19th at the clubhouse at 6 p.m., which is a Thursday and Friday, they're going to be filling eggs for the Easter egg hunt. They appreciate volunteers.
Thank you, Grant. POA Security, Brian Helmer.
I have one for him. He's got to be in a field sobriety class tonight. We've had 28 traffic stops, 5 citations were issued.
6 public service calls, and 2 residential break-ins. He had asked to, again, to make sure that we're keeping an eye out for each other's neighbor. If you see anything suspicious, the first thing you should do is write down something that identifies either the person or their vehicle.
This happening in the same neighborhood or, because he's reported before previously
No, it's not, no.
about break-ins.
No, it's not happening.
Thank you, Ken. Garden Club, Anita Johnson's not here, but I think I saw Linda Lawler.
Where do I need to be heard well? Because I don't have a whole lot of volume in my voice tonight.
Right there is perfect.
Right in the middle.
In the center.
Or come to consensus.
I think you're fine, right?
Yeah. About a half an inch this way.
Okay? Do I have to ask your permission to be this close? It is so wonderful to have you here, Mary, to ask. I met Mary the first week we were here, and Tom and I will never forget Mary and her welcome. I'm president of the Garden Club and was kind of out of the swing of things for a month or so, and Peggy Scott filled in the blank, so to speak, as well as Anita Johnson. Fasten your seatbelts, folks, because the Garden Club has just taken off. Our wreath sales exceeded $1,000 in profit.
All right.
Yes, all right.
Good job.
And the gals have had so much fun doing it, they want to do it again next year. So we're here to start spending our money, girls and money. Can't stay in our pockets too long.
You're not getting shoes, are you?
No, we're not getting shoes. No. Are you kidding? We're gardeners.
I know.
That's a mud between our toes.
I'm setting you up, Linda. Take it away.
We now have 2 garden club meetings each month. We have a morning group that has 13 at the present time, and an evening group with 10. Folks, that's twice as many as a year ago. We are thrilled. In addition to that, we are investigating the best bet for a place to purchase the swing and the glider that we want to place here on the area for older folks or for perhaps disabled people to be able to be near the playground and enjoy the kiddos. We've narrowed the choice down, and I hope Ken found it in my backyard because my husband and I bought one as a sample.
I ran out of time. I didn't get a chance to go by
Okay.
there today.
Kelly Chu is the gentleman who makes these. He lives in Reelsville. He was at the garden sale at the Putnam County Fair in March. Several of the ladies saw them, fell in love with them, and they kept calling me. I was home with the flu, and I got 5 calls from these gals. And then Kelly came up this week, brought swings and frames, and Tom and I fell in love with a set, and we purchased a set. And Bob and Helen Ratz at Heritage Lake Garden Center bought a swing as well. These are solid cedar, best description is logs that are almost 6 inches in diameter. He makes the swings and the frames. They even have cup holders in the frames. The glider has cup holders and a space in between that you could sit a snack down. The glider will be on the hardware, and we can get the 2 of them for less than $1,000. So the gals are going to look at the pictures and come see the one at my house and vote on it this coming week. On top of that, they decided they want to perpetuate gardening with our little people, and in honor of that, they're in the midst of publicizing that at Heritage Lake Garden Center, Bob and Helena are donating plants and potting soil, and we gals are going to come May 4th in the afternoon from noon to 4 to the garden center and help little people plant a flower for Mommy for Mother's Day that they can purchase for $5. That $5 will go to us begin to continue to get more of these gliders and swings for the other park areas, and to also be able to fund the seeds for pollinator gardens. We've been studying them, and we are in the process of twisting Ken's arm to please pick out some lots that we could scrape back the soil, plant these pollinator natural flowers that would invite butterflies and the mason bees, the safe bees, and the hummingbirds, and add a little more beauty to our area, because this garden club is extremely proud of the area. And we have a couple who have done it on their private property before they moved out here. So they're veterans who are teaching all of us. And we are really excited about that. But we have to admit, we girls can only get so much done. So we're going to put the rain garden into the study group category and work toward it for another year. There's only so much we can do this year and keep our gardens from looking like they're a mess. So forgive us if we don't get the rain gardens going quite as fast, but we really think the pollinators will do it, and we're getting ready to start cleaning out the beds in front of the entrances and getting some of the younger gals to help the older ones. We have one lady who is 91, almost 92, who is caring for one of the entrance gardens. I'm going to put a younger girl with her because I don't want to find her at the bottom of the gully from carrying water. I just don't think that would be, you know, would be good PR for us, would it?
Fire run.
No fire run for losing a flower girl in the ditch. So we thank you for all your support, and I have to thank the cleanup committee because they've come to us and said, can we help you financially get the pollinator gardens going? So I'm going to be working with them with our budget. They're even offering us some financial assistance for this. And believe it or not, I've got 80-year-olds ready to dance to hear that we've got that kind of support. So I'm excited, and I hope the community will become just as excited as we are.
Linda, thank you. That is fantastic. You guys are doing great work.
It's no one person, it's all of them.
It's appreciated.
Thank you.
Nice job. That's a hard act to follow right there, but now it's my turn. So, presentation of agenda. Any additions or corrections? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Nobody. Thank you. Presentation of minutes, March 11th board meeting. Any additions or corrections? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. March 25th operations meeting. Any additions or corrections? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? March 25th executive meeting. Any additions or corrections? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Treasurer's report, Jim Johnson.
Thanks, Chris. Our March total income for the month is $142,393. Our expense total was $70,423. We have a plus balance for the month of $71,970. That's pretty normal for this time of year. Assessments are beginning to spike, so we can expect that for a while. Our total income year to date is $325,503. Total expenses are up to $206,109, and that gives us a net for the year of $119,494. That's also normal for this time of year. Our short-term cash, we got $435,296 in short-term cash, and our total investments, primarily made up of money market and CDs, are $688,920. Those numbers, both of them, are inflated for right now. You would expect them to be. Expenses will begin to rise as summer help starts to come on board. And after the end of May, early June, our assessments will begin to tick down, and the boats will, for the most part, already be have paid their fees. So we can expect then, income will drop, and then our core expenses will be flat, and then as a percentage will rise towards the end of the year. So we're basically putting money back right now for the end of the year. And that's, we're making hay while the sun's shining. The last thing is that we are going to be doing a rebuild of the marina. And as soon as that project is complete, we're going to begin to expend resources towards that in this calendar year. And so we're going to see some fairly strong declines in our cash holdings late in the third quarter and early into the fourth. That's it.
Thank you, Jim. Board committee reports. A&E, Ben Fuchs.
Ben Fuchs, 77 Gettysburg. Our March meeting, we approved 7 permits. There were 8 projects, almost 7 permits. 2 houses, 1,456 square feet. 3 docks, 1 lift, and 2 fences.
Thank you, Ben. Campground, Denise Hawkins. I think the campground had their first meeting last Saturday maybe? 2 Saturdays ago. Hopefully next month I'll be able to come to the board with a report. As Ken Riggins has stepped down, he was the board liaison to the campground committee. I don't know if any board member has any interest in picking up being the liaison for that group as well, but give it some thought, and we'll have to probably assign somebody to kind of do double duty on that. Cleanup committee, Kurt Stewart.
Kurt Sawyer, 17 Mill Springs. Upcoming events this Saturday, April 13th, is our Heritage Drive cleanup, meeting at 10 a.m. at the maintenance building. If anyone wants to come out and pick up trash around Heritage Drive, come out and join us. Garage sale, May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Advertising is all completed for that. The next weekend, May 11th, is our clean sweep, and in the spring we include Toxaway Day, so we take all the toxic materials, weed poison, and all that kind of good stuff. There'll be more information on that. We have another meeting this Wednesday right here at 7 o'clock, and that's what we'll be discussing mostly is our cleanup and Toxaway days. So if you're interested in that, we got a couple new members. We could certainly use a couple more. One other thing from last year, we collected 1,450 pounds of cans for over $700 worth. And this man right here, Don Williams, is responsible for almost all of it.
Way to go, Don.
Don takes them over to Greencastle, helps the guys run the machine over there to crush the cans. But if you have aluminum cans, there's a box on the south side of the maintenance building. You just put them in a bag and put them in there, and Don will collect.
Nice job, thank you. Kurt, as long as you're standing, do you want to give the Lake Committee report as well?
What is it?
Oh, Jim's doing it? Oh, okay, all right, my bad, forget it.
I got the dissertation.
That's okay. Government Committee, Tom, I know you got something to say about that.
What we're gonna do for everybody in the audience and everybody on YouTube, we're gonna start our Government Committee meeting. We still don't have a chair, we're in need of a chair, but we're gonna start a meeting next Tuesday, April 16th at 7 o'clock. And just to refresh everybody, the mission of the Government Committee is to improve the image of the Heritage Lake community by fostering mutually beneficial relationships with city, state, county, federal officials and agencies while advocating for the benefit of our community in an effective, respectful manner. That's our mission statement currently. We encourage all members. We have 2 new people who are interested. They've been sent the notice of the meeting. Anybody in the audience or on YouTube, again, it's April 16th, 7 p.m. right here in the clubhouse. Just to tell you, the Government Committee was involved in such activities working with local government. As one example was the reduction of the speed limit, 30 miles per hour on Heritage Drive. Another was with Ken Rozell's help, working with the highway supervisor in getting him to establish a 5-year plan in terms of road repair for Heritage Lake. And a third one, which is happening right now, I hope, is the demolition, the request for the demolition of the property at 8 Mill Springs. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but it goes by the name of the Lottery House. You might have heard of that. That's the one that's been vacant for several years. Our POA board wrote a letter to the three individuals, the attorney, the planning and zoning commission chair, and our particular representative on the commissioners. In case you don't know it, his name is Dave Barry, correct. So that meeting's, assuming they had a quorum, that meeting is going on tonight, and hopefully from the government and our community involvement, that house will be demolished. That's about it, 7 p.m., August 16th, right here in that little, April 16th, right here in that little conference room. We encourage all new members, anybody who's excited about helping us establish what our mission is, please turn out. Any questions?
Thank you, Tom. I'd also like to thank Tom and Jim both for getting that letter put together for the commissioners on that 8 Mill Springs house. So hopefully it has an impact on their decisions to move forward. So thanks both you guys.
I think Tom deserves the credit. All I did was smith it. He did the work.
You're our wordsmith.
Come on, guys.
You
did the job.
You simplified the language. It was really clear. Rip down the house.
Now.
Good job, guys. Thank you. All right, Lake Committee. Jim Eulenby, I believe you're speaking for Kent Hoops.
I'm Kent Hoops tonight. Kent wrote a dissertation, so I'm going to read this slowly to you. Typically, I write up the minutes for the meeting, but I've been involved in some of the other things I haven't gotten to them yet. So he wrote an overview, which is probably more than I would have written in my minutes. But in any case, at the last meeting a week ago, we had a discussion related to the water quality testing that's going to be done this spring. 2 providers have been approached for the test. The test will include water quality testing in both the main body and the inlet streams, the health of the fishery, weed, and vegetation amounts. There are major points of emphasis, but certainly not the total testing parameters. The Lake Committee has agreed to partner with the POA and add an additional $2,000 to the budgeted item in order to ensure a thorough baseline moving forward. So that's what we agreed to the other night, to add a couple $1,000s to the line item that you guys have already talked about. Adding to the water quality testing and Creel survey, our Lake Committee will maximize the fish stocking efforts and work in concert with the results of the water quality testing to ensure we are stocking fish in the best interest of the POA and the lake itself. Third, solar buoy lights will be purchased on a trial basis. We're going to be putting small solar lights on about 10 of the buoys, old buoys, because they're probably going to get hit. And we're going to try them to see if that might keep some of the boats at night from running into these things. We're going to do that pretty soon here. A review of the dates for the bass tournaments was voted on and passed by the committee. We agreed to the timing and the effects and so on. An order is in place for Lake Committee merchandise at the marina. We pushed on this pretty quickly. We should be getting some new items over there very shortly. Let's see, a tentative date for the Feces Ski is set for August the 3rd. Even though it was in the review we had at the annual meeting, we hadn't approved it yet, but we're going to do it. A fertilizer memo has been emailed to all the POA members reviewing the need to become aware of the effects of the fertilizer on the lake. And finally, in an effort to build on a lake discussion related to eagle nesting at the lake, I'm going to read this out. The Lake Committee reached out to several agencies as well as fellow POA members whom are interested in this topic. This was brought up at our meeting the other night. Hendricks Power has offered to sponsor a portion of this endeavor if the consensus is to move forward. They have a couple of ongoing eagle nest projects currently in Indiana. They would do the site study for utilities, donate the pole, and place it with a platform on top. So we Ken obviously has talked to him and said they would be willing to do this. Obviously, there are still additional questions to be answered, but we will not move forward without POA board approval to gather further additional information. And finally, we talked about how we could work on simplifying the lake rule book to make it a little easier for everybody to kind of find the rules and work through it. So we're going to work on that process too. So,
Thank you, Jim.
you're welcome.
Clean water, Phil McKinley.
Based on Ken's copious notes and Jim's presentation, most of what I would need to say has already been said. Just a couple of comments. We have gotten responses from a couple of the organizations that we've contacted already about doing various testing of the lake. One of the ones is Commonwealth Biomonitoring that we've used in the past. They are also the group that is working for the big Walnut watershed group with the grant that they got on testing inlet streams, so we don't have to do as much of that this year since that's already covered. We want to spend a little more of our money looking directly at the water in the lake itself. We've also heard back from another arm of the group that normally does the weed testing and control in the lake. Neither one of those groups, unfortunately, is able to do everything that we hoped could be done. So we're still kind of investigating, and at the next meeting we'll do some discussing of what we might want to do along those lines. Let's see, anything else to mention? Just one other comment about the eagles and their nesting in the area. I attended a raptor show not too long ago, and one of the comments that they made of interest was that the kinds of controls of mice and rats which are based on poisons can actually end up with dead mice and dead rats who are poisoned out in the fields, which then can be eaten by eagles and can actually kill them. So just a thought to people, if there are mechanical ways to deal with such pests instead of chemical ways, that might also be desirable. So that's a little off the subject, but just came up in that comment about the eagles. And I think that basically is everything except for what Jim already covered.
Thank you, Phil. Long-term planning, Harold's name is on here, but we have a co-chair since Harold's not here. Deborah, do you have anything to say about the long-term planning team?
Boy, does she.
I just learned tonight that Harold is not going to co-chair with me. So we're gonna start over and hopefully pull the committee together and find another co-chair and get the meeting started.
Thank you, Deborah. Good luck.
Thanks.
No, I don't mean that bad. That wasn't a joke. Sincerely, good luck. Let us know if you need help.
It sounded
I know. Siltation, Dwayne Kelly, pull me out of this, will you?
Okay. Dwayne Kelly, 282 Patriots Landing. We had our meeting in March. We are doing 3 projects to start with. One will be $40,000 worth of silt removed in front of the Lincoln Hills Beach in the shallow area out in front of there. I don't have a price on the East Fork Silt Basin, but a clean out of that silt basin up there, and also clean out the lake end of Cove 16. Those are the 3 projects. I've already talked to Shannon about them. He's aware of them. When he gets a barge on the water and gets some homeowners work done first, then he'll be working for, doing the work for the siltation committee.
Thank you, Dwayne. HLEPT, got John Deegan?
I'm here, yes.
Hey, John, welcome back.
Thank you. John Egan, 218 Patriots Landing, and I will stand right here. Is this good or should I go? Good. That one, okay. On April 3rd, the emergency preparedness team reviewed our procedures for opening and operating the emergency communications center. The small conference room is our emergency communications center, and we have extra phones and equipment to set up in there in the event that we need to provide more information for the community on a situation that would be affecting all of us. During the meeting, we were made aware of some problems causing the speakerphone in that room to not work properly, and I suspect there's a couple of groups around here that have tried to use that speakerphone for meetings and it didn't work right. Well, the problems were with 2 telephone lines. We got those lines fixed on Friday, and I'm going to assume it's still working okay. I checked it this evening, and that speakerphone is working properly. What I'm saying here is that people couldn't make a call out from that speakerphone there because of the phone line problems, and that's not a problem anymore. Last month, we provided to the POA office and the marina a weather radio. We've got a third one to deliver to the campground when they're ready to take delivery for that radio. The next Red Cross blood drive is scheduled for Tuesday, June 4th from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's downstairs in this building. Marianne Novak is back here in the back part of the room, has all the information on that. Anything else we should share in that, Marianne?
No, just please sign up either online or give me a call and I'll sign you up.
Thank you. And there was a quarter-page ad about that in the current highlights. Well, here we are in April, and April showers bring May flowers. Well, April showers also bring tornadoes and hail. And we really encourage everybody here in the community to have a weather radio. They're not expensive. They're $30 or less. You can buy them online. You can buy them at Walmart. You can program it for our community, for the county, and it will make an awful racket when there is a weather alert affecting us. I'm sure you've heard in this front office, you've heard it go off, and it'll wake you up from a sound sleep. But it's an important device to have. The sirens that are around the lake are not designed to be our first point of alert. The sirens are really designed for outside alert. Inside your home, a weather radio is an excellent tool, as well as your cell phone and other things. But again, $30. If anybody has any questions about them, let me know. I'll be glad to help you with it, help you program them, easy to do. And that's all I have.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Good information, thank you. Election Committee, Mr. Jim Muhlenbein.
Came up one more time.
One more time.
I wrote this one in big text so I could read without my glasses. As of 11:30 this morning, we've recorded a total of 60 ballots, representing 78 total lots. 10 of them came via email, 17 came via text, 3 were faxes, and 30 have been picked up out of the ballot box. The voting structure was originally set up to vote 5 ways. You could mail, you could put it in the ballot box, you could do it via email, you could send it via text, or fax. If by mail, the ballots are picked up at the post office regularly and placed into the ballot box out here in the foyer, and I come by and pick them up. The email address was originally set up to receive only the ballots, so we're not using that email address for anything but accepting the ballots as they come in. It can receive directly from an email message, from the fax service, and from a forwarded text. When I get a text on my phone, I highlight the ballot, forward it to the email address, and then delete that from my phone, so I don't have a record on my phone any longer. I then regularly open the email and print the ballots. The ballot message, whether it's an email, a fax, or a text, is then saved into a file on the email server. I then record that the particular property was voted on a spreadsheet that can be shared with the office. As we progress, Deb will be able to see what properties have voted, but not their actual vote. She can then work with the board to contact those properties that have yet to vote. The spreadsheet is updated each time I record the ballots and is saved on my computer as well as a flash drive, so we have 2 backups. The printed ballots are placed in alphabetical order in a file for safekeeping, so they're all being held onto, so we have that as backup. I'm tallying the yes and no vote on a separate document, and that's being kept confidential. I'm the only one who sees it. At the end of the voting period, the spreadsheet, my vote tally, and the actual ballots can all be reconciled and confirmed. Any questions on how it works?
That's excellent, Jim. I do have one question. Out of the ballots that have been returned so far, have any been invalid?
I've had two. I wrote them back when I received them and said, one wrote to me on the email and just gave me a yes on the email or a no, whatever it was. And so I just wrote them back and said, nope, got to send a ballot. So the next day I got one. And the other one sent one, and for some reason it wouldn't print. So I wrote back again, and they sent it a different way, and it came. So, so far we've had no disqualified ballots.
Excellent.
Great.
I really appreciate the amount of work that you're doing to manage this, and I know it's gonna go in spurts. We're gonna get a whole flurry of them all at once, and then it's gonna slow down hopefully for a little bit. You can enjoy your boat for a minute, and then it'll probably pick up again next time the ballots get sent. But this is gonna be an ongoing thing. We're gonna have a portion of this meeting dedicated to nothing but covenant talk a little bit later, so hold on to your questions until that time, please. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Manager report, Ken Roselle.
All right, Kurt, I think I made your job just a little bit easier for last week. So we got to jump on your, I was talking to Stockton and he offered up some guys to come out here. So last week we did, Wednesday and Thursday, we did a pretty heavy cleanup out here. So I'd like to start off by, would like to thank Sheriff Stockton for dedicating 3 trustees and a staff member to 2 whole days of spring cleaning around Heritage Lake community. There were 32 bags of trash, 2 TVs, and 4 dump trailers that we trimmed back trees and branches along the roadway. So they did that all in 2 days. The Jefferson Valley Boat Tie-Up area, this winter-long project has been completed with new pipes for boat parking, replaced boardwalk with a new deck area that includes 2 picnic tables and a grill, along with the new driveway and a parking area. That area looks really nice. The Marina Boardwalk project is nearly complete. The new boardwalk is finished. The only thing needing finished is to install the new dock boat bumpers, which they were doing today. They arrived last Friday to get that started. McCullough Excavating to set the new pipe for boat parking. His plan is to have his barge on the water, I've got today or tomorrow, but he didn't get started on it today, so hopefully it's tomorrow. And complete setting the pipe possibly by the end of this week. At that point, the Marina Tie-Up project will also be completed. The 30 new buoys purchased by the Lake Committee for $4,500 was delivered this past Thursday. All buoys will be put into place by the end of April. Please, I ask that you make an attempt not to drive over them. The Swim Area beach markers, I noticed they were putting them out, some of them out today. A load of fresh sand will also be included added to all 3 beaches. The lake security team will be made up of mostly law enforcement officers and will be meeting with myself and Kent Hoops in the next couple of weeks to discuss our lake rules, along with the frequent and reoccurring on the water violations to focus on getting these issues under control. Lastly, the assessments for this year of $249 per lot was due by April 1st. As a reminder, any unpaid assessments after May 1st, late fees will be applied. And any assessments not paid by August 1st, these accounts will be turned over to our attorney for collections. If a payment plan needs to be worked out, please make contact with the office staff and set up your arrangements. That's it.
Thank you, Ken. Things are looking good. It's spring cleaning time. We're getting outside and cleaning stuff up.
Yeah.
The new posts look fantastic. If you guys haven't seen them yet, really makes a big difference. It's a lot cleaner, a lot neater, and hopefully we'll keep from running those over along with the
Can I just ask or interject one thing? At our siltation meeting, and I also brought it up at the Lake Committee meeting, what was suggested at siltation is if it's possible on the buoy that might be at the entrance of the cove to put the cove number. The siltation committee thought this would be a great improvement, for safety. If somebody is in trouble and they happen to stall there, they could simply, everybody has cell phones, call up and say, I'm stalled by cove number 8 or cove number 10. So the Lake Committee is going to be discussing this at their April meeting, and I just wanted to throw it out, possibly to Ken, so he could think about what it would take to add numbers to just the cove entrance markers. Are there such a thing as that?
I think it's a great idea. We'd probably have to put them on both sides because those buoys are gonna get turned and twisted at all times. So at any given time, it could be on the backside and really not serve any purpose from the main body of water. So we'd probably have to put them on two sides.
Any recommendation to where we might find lettering or a recommendation for color?
You're just talking about numbers, right?
Numbers.
Yeah.
You could do them on a square. It will always be visible. 4, 4, 4, 4.
Whew, that's a lot of numbers. I mean, we got several codes.
20.
How many?
20 codes.
So you're talking 80 numbers if.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I just made.
At least more than one,
Yeah.
whether it's 4 or.
Front and back.
I think two
sounds
would
like a
have to
good
be minimum.
recommendation, front and back.
Yeah.
So, in other words, they'd be, potentially, if they would rotate 180 degrees, you'd still be able to see the number.
Yeah.
I'd say you'd probably do it for $100 or less. I mean, just if you did it on all 4 sides. I mean, you're looking at, I forget how much they are, 10 cents, 12, 15 cents a number.
Good idea.
Can I break protocol and make a comment?
Just this one.
I was the Lake Committee, and I'm gonna argue with you. Because Kent thought putting the numbers on those buoys was a waste of time. He made the comment that the buoys get destroyed constantly. Typically, the ones who get destroyed are the ones right at the end of the coves, and that's gonna happen on a regular basis. His belief was we should come up with some kind of plan that allows us to put a more permanent structure of some sort at that entrance. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't do what you're saying, but I thought he had a logical thought process in that those buoys just get beat up so bad, and then as soon as they're beat up, the stuff comes out, the numbers are no good.
That's why we replaced 30 of them and really needed another 30.
Well, no, as I say, we will discuss this at the Lake Committee meeting coming up at the end of April, regarding, what the pros and the cons would be.
Okay.
And, then we'll obviously weigh what the Lake Committee thinks, and we'll make a decision. I understand a buoy can be destroyed, but if a buoy is destroyed, it still is gonna be replaced. So then it takes 5 minutes to slap 2 numbers on.
Well, it would make it easier if we knew that, if that's what we were gonna do before we put the buoys out versus them in the water and trying to put numbers on them.
Or you can spray paint a stencil on there.
Jim and
You guys are good.
I didn't mean to.
No.
It's just the point that the Lake Committee will discuss. It was a recommendation from the Siltation Committee, and I just wanted to, bring that to the group's attention, and especially Ken's attention.
I think it's a good idea. I think it warrants probably further discussion and agreement maybe between Ken and the Lake Committee and.
Well, the Lake Committee will come up with their recommendations, and we'll make the decision.
Sure, okay.
I got one, for both of you, I guess. We had a platform where the kids jumped around. Is that coming back?
Mhm.
So the vendor that sold us the defective one has given us one that's good now.
Correct.
Good, that's all I know.
Stay off it, Jim.
It's for kids.
Was that how it broke the first time?
Well, that's not what you tell Jim. That's for kids.
All right, moving on.
Just tell them to stay off it.
I wanna see it out there.
Moving on, a few weeks ago, if you guys remember, there was a walking trail put in by the Boy Scouts sometime last year, towards the fall of last year. It's basically just a mulch path on the north end, beyond the Lincoln Park Beach. There's a nice siltation pond is back there, and it's a really nice little nature area. So, as a follow-on project to that, there's kind of some additional work being investigated by Kyle Young, who's here in attendance today, who wants to talk about the next steps in completion of that area. So Kyle, why don't you take it away?
Kyle Young, 602 Jefferson Valley. So, I'm presenting the Eagle project, building, there are 2 places that need bridges constructed. One, as you can see the design in front of you, of a 40-foot suspension bridge across a creek crossing that is about halfway into the trail, well, more than halfway into the trail. And the second one is just a shorter 10-foot walking bridge that would just be 2x6s and 4x4s. It won't need any much support. So that suspension bridge, I've done all the math, all the physics, and consulted plenty of people of the design that's needed to support plenty of weight. The weight that we calculated that's maximum would be the snow weight. And so that design is capable of holding up 1,600 pounds of snow in the direct middle of it. So there's that design. And so where it needs that bridge is just that creek crossing, and it's not the creek itself, but it's this flooding area that is about as wide as the creek, that when the water rises to a certain level, it comes around, it washes out this area. Where the trail goes right now, it crosses this sandbar, and after a year or two, that sandbar is going to be washed out. There's not going to be a trail crossing there anymore. So what this plan is proposing is to put that bridge in that area, plus the other one that just goes across the erosion path to clear that up, make it easier to get across.
How long is this bridge?
The walking one is just 10 feet, and that's to get across the suspected erosion of what is to come.
And the long one is?
40 feet.
Okay.
Have you checked in with IDEM on this?
With who?
The Indiana Department of Energy Management, IDEM.
I have not had any connection with them.
The only reason I bring it up is the siltation committee explored doing work in that area, and IDEM sort of came out and shut us down. So I was just wondering, it might be a good idea to validate your idea with them. I don't know if Dwayne knows the representative from IDEM, or...
I don't remember, I don't remember what her name was. I know she was out here a couple of times, but IDEM's problem with what we were going to do, or what we had planned to do, we had planned to build another silt basin above the existing silt basin so that we could have 2 places to slow the silt down before it come into that end of the lake. IDEM has a new policy, or it was new to us, and they won't let you dam a stream, which we would have to do to put a silt basin in. We'd have to put a dam in and stop the water temporarily, at least. Yeah, their thing is not to get into a long thing, but their plan is what they had. And I don't think it would affect what he's saying, but I'm not IDEM, so. But their plan was you divert the water out of the stream into a holding pond, and then let it come back into the stream rather than blocking the stream. That was IDEM's thing, which become extremely more expensive than putting in a silt dam.
The only reason I identify it is since you'll be potentially going across their creek, you might want to get their approval on your idea.
So you recommend that I get...
Oh, definitely, I would recommend you contact IDEM.
You can pick IDEM up on the internet and
tell them what your idea is.
See what division it is on streams and water, and probably, I would guess you probably could do it with a phone call, but I don't know. Sometimes they're easy to deal with, most of the time they're hard to deal with.
Call them on a Friday, they're probably easier to deal with on a
Friday.
Not a Monday.
Late Friday afternoon.
So I got a couple just high-level questions. As far as what your timeline, how long it would take to complete this project, assuming that you've got to go ahead, and also, What is the cost and how did you get your funding to complete the project?
The funding I got all from donations from family, friends, and a company wanted to see any sales. And Lowe's has offered this generous donation of selling at price, all the materials needed. So they're not making any profit of it. They're just selling all the materials they need at price. The total cost, it was, I have the number here. So the total cost right now for all the materials that we've calculated is around $1,000. And that is for the suspension bridge and the other walkway bridge. And so, and the materials list, I have all that, number of everything that we need.
The amount of time it would take to actually complete the bridge?
So that was heavily debated on basically my schedule, how it came out with school and that stuff. Right now though, I have a couple open weekends. Those weekends is my plan to get as much done as I can.
That's weather dependent, I imagine, too?
Also weather dependent, yes. The main thing the first thing that we're gonna do was set the cement forms and then the posts in. That should take about a day. The other things, putting in the cables and the boards themselves should take another 2-3 days. And then getting the materials back there is a major thing that we think would also take a day. So,
you're looking for Eagle Scout work, so I would grab some Boy Scouts, because they're cool a little bit, and give them a bag of cement and walk them back there.
Hey, Kyle and I had talked about utilizing our smaller tractor to kind of help get some of that supplies back there.
yes, and that would be, so how that plan turns out is that we build a small bridge first so that can get across that erosion area, because it's an erosion area that not many off-road vehicles will even be able to get back there unless they have a tractor with some larger wheels. So if we're taking the Kubota, let's say back there for the cement bags, build the bridge first so you can drive across that and then get all the materials back there. So, because the small bridge, will come across first and then the suspension bridge is later on in the trail.
It's a nice area. If you guys haven't had a chance to walk back there, it was my first time back there, and there were all kinds of deer tracks and a dog chasing us around the whole time. It was a really neat little area. Yeah, Phil.
Just a question, the suspension bridge doesn't actually cross Clear Creek, it's just kind of along the edge, is it not, where water would be coming in?
Yeah, it's
so it's really not the creek itself that you're bridging?
Yes, right. So it basically goes across the side of the creek because there's this area that when it floods, the water just will wash out of that. So, and yeah, like you said about the nature, almost any time that I've gone back there, there's always dozens of turkeys everywhere. There's one of the guys that lives back there takes pictures of all the wildlife. There's some fox dens, there's deers, dogs apparently.
Anybody else on the board have any questions for Kyle?
This is awesome.
It's great work. It's really a neat thing to be working on. It should give our community benefits. When you get a little further along, or even after you complete it, come back and talk about it and show some pictures and.
Now we can go on a tour, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Could you show us on the map where this is at?
Okay, so it is in Lincoln Hills. So when you go to the beach, where's
Straight up by the green area there, Kyle.
yeah,
next to the pink. Up. Nope. Keep going further.
Wait,
up higher.
So Lincoln.
There you go.
So it is in this cul-de-sac, the Road 19. You go down, I don't know exactly which lot it is that the road is on, but there's a gravel road to the left that leads down behind the house. And right in this area, the trail goes all the way back.
Almost to Heritage Drive.
Yeah, almost all the way to Heritage Drive. So this whole area.
And Kyle, why don't you share with the audience what the people that live that house right by there where the gravel drive is, share what they had said about being excited and being able to take their kids back.
Oh yeah, they're really excited. So there's a couple, some of their grandchildren, some of their other kids playing around in the yard, and they think it'll be really nice for them to have this trail that they can walk on any day and just walk back there with their family, their dogs, whatever. And they're really excited for it. They think it's a nice way to enjoy the nature, or more of the nature in Heritage Lake.
park on the cul-de-sac?
Yeah, there's this little parking area that is, so the gravel road comes down and then there's like,
It's right by the siltation pond, actually, right there. There's a gravel.
There's a drive that McCullough put in for the siltation of that pond back there, so there's a drive that leads back to it with a small parking lot.
You probably could park 4 cars back
Yeah,
there.
yeah, something like that.
Kyle, the only thing I ask is if you kind of keep me in the loop when you're working over the weekend, just shoot me an email or something, say that, you know, we're gonna be spending some time back there, so I kind of know what's going on.
So people start calling and asking what all the noise is about, then we'll have an answer.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. I'll say that. Thank you, Kyle.
thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda, gate access quotes for the burn area. So I'm gonna let Ken carry this conversation off by the latest information we have on the burn area.
Well, as most everybody know, we kind of have a little bit of a wrench thrown our way. Most everybody knows that a few months ago we got fined for what I was told for illegal burning of certain material. So we were fined $500 for that. I was under the assumption that that was what their problem was, and which I totally agreed with, so we spent some really diligent time by sifting through anything before we set fire to burning the brush. And we continued to get complaints to IDEM, which an inspector, Brookmeyer, showed up, or gave me a call, and started telling me that we are not supposed to be burning at all. So, I explained to her that this community has done this for a long time. I'm not sure what the change of heart was all of a sudden. Her exact words was that it is against the law for this community to burn. It makes us look like we are dodging the effort to dispose of this material appropriately. So she highly recommended me to put a cease to burning. I was in communication with him today. She's working on setting up some dates for us to sit down and speak with her. A couple things I didn't understand is it was perfectly fine for residents to burn in their own yard with houses on top of each other, but we cannot burn in an open area and monitor it. So that's where we're at. We need to make some kind of a quick decision on what we're doing, because all I did was watch over the weekend, people hauling stuff down there, so the pile is going to continue to get bigger. There are some permits that could be applied for burning. I'm not sure what those ramifications of that is. So we just need to discuss what we're doing, because it's not a good situation. She made it very clear that, and I'm not going to be doing any burning, because IDM has got the authority to throw down some pretty hefty fines to catch our attention, and that's probably what would happen. So we need to come up with some ideas, and we leave it open for mulch. You know what's going to happen. People's going to continue to dump their stuff if it's open. I'm not so sure that we shut it down with a gate. Somebody's not going to dump it in front of the gate, because they're going to have to get it off their trailer or truck, and with no cameras down there, I think that's what's going to happen.
So Ken, I think probably the first order of business, we know that we can't burn anything else. I think we need to get a notice out to the community saying that's it. No more dumping anything at the burn pile area until further notice. It's gonna cost this community a lot of money in fines, and who knows what else they're gonna come down on us for. So I think that's education to the community's gotta be the first thing. I know we've talked several times about the gate. I don't think that option goes away. I think we have to do something to close that area off. And then we have to decide what we could do in place of burning at some point if we decide we need that area to get rid of some stuff, because otherwise we're gonna end up having it in the open areas, we're gonna have it in the lake. There's a lot of bad things that could happen by people not having a place to dispose of their yard waste. And, I mean, a lot of the people that follow the rules are gonna be hurt by this because they haven't burned anything illegally. They're doing the right things, they're putting their leaves in there, they're putting their brush in there, they're not putting treated lumber, but there's a whole lot of people that are, so we gotta make a decision.
When is the first available date that we can meet with this woman?
She would, when I was communicating with her today, I asked her to, which would be easier. She said that it'd be easier for her to come up with some dates, shoot them to me, and then, because I did tell her that there was a handful of people who'd like to meet with them, that we had several questions. I just cannot much believe that it's so cut and dry that you just, there's no option, we got, you know. But she was pretty direct and to the point, but as soon as I get those dates, I look for her to probably give me something tomorrow because she was really responsive when I was communicating with her. So
I think maybe investigating what it would take
She
to
the
get the
highest
permit.
level?
no, she did say that the some of the people that would be attending, they would let's see. She said the would be her. She would attend. She's the case manager. Brooke Meyer, the inspector, and David MCL VER. He's the section chief. Would be in attendance. I did tell her that our fire chief was even wanting to sit in on this because he had several questions as well. So she did ask me, and I was honestly answering. She asked me who set fire to it, who does the burning, and I said we do, the employees. And looking back, I just wondered if she was asking that question because it would be legal for a resident to burn. Because I told her, I said, what if we're a nonprofit? She said it didn't matter. It would be the same situation. So she said the POA cannot burn. So one of my questions is, can Jim Muhlenbein go down there and have a party and burn? So
my vote's for Jim.
Could we have a committee?
Well, and that's another question. I
why
think we need to investigate, number one, what it would take to get a permit to burn, as far as time and if there's any cost associated with that. How frequently would we be able to do that? It would be limited to once a month, once every other week, whatever. I think there's some investigation that could be done to that. So maybe we could still manage it, understanding that the rules of doing so are gonna change a bit, and we're gonna have to be a little more diligent about how we manage the stuff being brought in.
just reading the rules that she sent me, that said basically the only time we would be allowed to burn would be for emergency burning. A, tornado, high winds, earthquake, an explosion, a hailstorm, and rainstorm, or an ice storm.
Rainstorms
stuff
are
out here.
I know. So once a month.
So we can burn in April, right?
Sunny day.
Well, we've had about 3 50-mile-an-hour plus winds already, and there's a lot of debris down there for that. But those are questions she's gonna have to probably give us the nod if we can. I'm just not gonna jeopardize a
Yeah.
$25,000 fine or something.
Do we want to get out and communicate regarding stop bringing stuff down there?
One of the things I'd like to.
Hang on.
I'm sorry.
I think so. I think if we know we can't burn for at least a period of weeks, who knows how
Right
long.
now, we know we can't burn.
Yeah, so we gotta
Period.
stop, yeah.
So therefore, if you could put something together, get it to the highlights before the end of the month, so we could possibly put it on the first page of the highlights.
Highlights, email blast, wherever else we can
Sure.
get it out. I think we
Yeah,
need to.
I would agree with that we need to, until we get it figured out, until this meeting happens and we know a little bit more, I think we put a stop to it because we're gonna have a massive pile over there.
Is it possible to throw, I know it's an ineffective method, but it's a deterrent, a couple of horses up there, you know, wooden blockades with do not,
Signage or something.
something on there, just to throw it up. I know you say they're gonna dump in front of it, they're gonna run over it, et cetera, but at least the people who are at least receptive and understand will not do it.
Yeah, we'll have to put something up. I mean, even if we had to sink a couple posts on each end and run a couple chains across it.
I would suggest doing it at the road.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
not by the pile.
Not by the pile, not right in front of the pile.
Drive around that. How long are you gonna make that chain? Because I can drive to that burn pile from the intersection down the street. I can drive there from behind the fire station.
Maybe we do both.
Maybe we do both, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we make a decision on that, I'll put my 2 cents in. I live in the area of the burn pile. I've got video, not just in my driveway. I've seen video and pictures from neighbors around there. Sometimes it looks like it's snowing, and that's when the pile gets real big and a big pile's being burned. I make regular trips over there, pick up stuff that's not supposed to be in there. Here's a whole picture of just this weekend. Stereo cabinets, cement board, which it doesn't even burn. A whole pile of somebody, it looks like somebody built a deck. A&E committee helped me out on that one. Somebody built a deck and they put all their scraps in the burn pots, pressure treated lumber. One gentleman decided to take it upon himself to burn. And those angled pieces in there are the shelves off his garage shelf. That's the brackets off the garage shelves. He went ahead and burned it so at least we wouldn't see his shelves laying there. So I go over there quite a bit, have a lot of conversations with folks over there. And my heart says, close the damn thing and get out of the burn business. But my mind for the community says absolutely not. Being on the fire department, I don't think we can afford to have 400 or 500 people burning brush in their backyards. In the last week and a half, we've had 2 brush fire runs. That's taking the resources of the fire department, chasing down somebody burning brush in their backyard when Mary Williams needs help at her house and we're putting out a brush fire in somebody's backyard. So I think we need to leave the area open. There's other ways to dispose of it. I actually talked with Ken about one way we can do it. You dig a 8-foot deep, 30-foot wide by 8-foot wide hole. You put all the brush in there, and you buy a $40,000 blower that makes the fire so hot there is no smoke. That's allowed by IDEM. That's in their code. The other options, I've actually got 2 folks who are supposed to be sending me quotes on coming out and just hauling the brush away. Raised Trash will do it. There's another company out of Indianapolis called Fire Dogs. They'll come out and haul it away. They'll just load it in their truck and haul it away. There are also companies that will come out and grind that brush right there in the spot where it's at, turn it into mulch, and now the community can go out and get mulch. It's an expensive mulch. Some communities actually charge for it. But if you go out to the burn pit right now, just with my quick calculations, there's close to 1,500 cubic yards of leaf mulch over there. Where's that leaf mulch going to end up if we quit letting people put it out there? It's going to be in the lake. It's going to be blowing around the neighborhood. It's going to end up in the lake. Then Dwayne's going to hear about siltation complaints all the time. My codes are full of leaf. Look, you got to put your stuff somewhere. My thought is leave it open, continue with the gate project like we talked about, and have some control on it until we can come up with a plan. It's not going to hurt anything to say, hey, the burn pile is only open from 10 to 2 on Saturday. Sorry, folks, that's all we can do right now. But at least that material's not building up around the properties. Because one of 2 things is going to happen. People are going to have it on their properties and they're going to burn it, or they're just going to leave it, and then we're going to need more eagles out here to get the rest of the rodents that are going to start coming in. That's my 2 cents worth.
But again, we're told we're not supposed to do it, so we better close it down until we get a decision.
No, sir, I said that IDEM says we're not supposed to burn it. IDEM is all about recycling. They love the fact we have a compost pile over there. That leaf mulch is fantastic stuff. I've gone over there and got 2 or 3 pickup loads since we've lived out here and put them in our fire beds. We can't let that material build up in our properties because it will end up where it's not supposed to be at.
I guess I'm saying, you, right now, you're not controlling, we have no plan on what to do with that. And it's going to start to accumulate. And if you're talking about rodent habitat, leaf piles are wonderful rodent habitats. So I just think, we should either make a decision to follow what they're saying. In other words, we don't have a plan to do anything with it. All of your ideas are wonderful, but at this point, we don't have a plan. And it's going to pile up and pile up and pile up.
We don't have a plan because we don't have control. AJ's got a fantastic idea to control it. We've been talking about controlling what goes in that pile for months and months.
Right.
Let's do something with it. Quit sitting on our asses and not do anything on this board.
AJ, what's your
Let's get some
plan?
stuff done.
AJ, what's your plan?
Well, we had some gate access quotes, put a electric slide gate that could be motorized to open and close. We explored a handful of different options where we could restrict either times of day that it could or could not be opened. We just made it simple for just a push button. You'd have to at least drive up, stop, push the button, the gate would open, then you can proceed through and close behind you. We would be able to add some camera capabilities because of being able to trench. There's a lot of different varieties of what we can do, and it can go from really mild to really wild. You can have cameras and wireless networks and all sorts of crazy stuff, or you can just have a gate. I share the sentiment of most people that we need to do something. We need to get a gate out there, we need to get an operator out there. I've got a quote for $7,000 to get a gate and an operator in there all in one nice little pretty package, which would be the start. But even, he can't even start till May. So, but we need to get an approval so we can get on the schedule, so we can get this thing done before it's gonna be July. If we talk about this for another 2 or 3 meetings, it's gonna be July before we get this in, and God knows if we're gonna get stuck with another fine. And worst comes to worst, maybe we do lock it down and only open it at certain times. Maybe we say, okay, only on Saturdays we have the gate open. Otherwise it's powered off and the gate's closed and you can't get in. Or during the week or something like that. That would be a kind of Ken's discretion if they're gonna be turned off and things like that as far as restricting access. But I feel kind of the same way Jeff does. We've kind of talked this thing to death. I think the first step is Ken's explored a way to get power out there so we can run the gate. We've talked to multiple different companies about different quotes. This one seems to be the most complete and it's buildable. So if we did want to at some point restrict it to, we've been picking on Dwayne all night, so I'm gonna say Ben wants to go out there and dump something. Ben would have a code for his lot and he could punch in his code and it would open for him. And everybody would have a special code for their own thing, and that would be built into a system down the road. It's not something that unfortunately we can just snap our fingers and give 3,000 codes out and do that. It's not impossible, but it's very labor intensive to do that. We were just thinking, people see a gate and a fence and some operators, and we can put up some security lighting out there, some motion activated lighting, things like that at night, so people think they're gonna sneak over there in the middle of the night. And a light turns on, maybe they'll think twice, maybe they won't. But I really feel that we need to approve it so we can get this on the schedule, so we can get something out there to start the deterrent process. Also, thinking about all the IDEM things we've been talking about, if we show them that we are restricting access, we show them we are putting our money where our mouth is for this, I think that can kind of carry some weight too, that we're trying to be responsible and respectful of the environment.
I did explain to her that we were in the process of doing that.
So
Her remark was, well, that's a great idea.
So,
Well, I think no matter what happens with IDEM and what we can or can't do, that area is still gonna have to be used for some type of disposal in whatever way we decide in the future. But for now, I'm totally with AJ. We have to do something. We gotta do something quick to restrict access in any way we can right now.
And we can work with maybe the cleanup committee, because I know they do a lot of cleaning up things. Maybe we can do that in conjunction with some events to open the pit, to bring things in. And also maybe we should stop calling it the burn pit. Maybe we should call it like environmental recycling or something. We should probably come up with a catchy name like the Vote Vote. And just maybe stop making people think about burning things there, and that it's a recycling area, something like that, but.
I think I need a pen.
But.
So do I have a motion on the table by anybody?
I make a motion to approve the, oh my God, is it TJ fencing? It's either TJ or DJ fencing, I'm sorry.
TJ.
TJ fencing, quote for $7,000.
In the interest of time, are you requesting a single vote?
Yes, because this seems to be, if we're gonna get fined, we gotta try to do everything we can not to get fined. And then Ken, you said the power thing was kind of, it's close enough that it's not gonna cost anything?
Yeah, it's not gonna cost anything. He's gonna pull the power from the, cell tower. There's a transformer right there.
I just wanna make sure I need to add dollars if there's more dollars.
The only expense we'll have is put up that H stand and a meter. That's it.
Okay, so $7,000 to get this slide gate and operator system installed, and then we can build on this later once we kind of see the impact that it has. Let's say $7,100 to make sure.
Not to exceed $7,100.
Not to exceed $7,100 to make sure Ken has enough for the power stand, whatever thing it's called.
Can you make it 75 just in case with the keypad? No, just in case the keypad's gonna be better. Because if we're just gonna have a push button with no lock on it, if you have a keypad, even if it has one code on it, Ken has the code.
Okay, yeah. I'll make an amend to my motion for $7,500.
All in favor? Any discussion before this motion?
Just a little bit.
Let's vote on that.
Hey, we gotta do what we gotta do. I don't really see anything about this that's gonna stop us or help us with IDEM. IDEM's problem with us is burning. That's what their problem is with us. So to characterize it, this is gonna help us with IDEM, that's not gonna help us at all. They don't want us burning. Now, to the extent that it creates pressure on us, I got it. And I'm not sure I get your characterization that this board has been sitting on our patooties doing anything. I can't tell you right now what this project is that we're voting on. We saw it creep within 2 minutes, another 500 for having a special box. And so, I mean, I'm gonna vote for it because I think we gotta do something, but I sure hope we know what we're doing, because I'm voting for something I don't really understand.
I think what we're probably gonna gain, regardless of what IDEM says, is we're gonna be able to restrict who's going in and out of there at whatever times we deem it's gonna be open or closed, right?
I'm for all that, Chris.
And in so doing, if we expand it to cameras, we'll also be able to see who's bringing what in. Not right away maybe, but I think for the long term, it's gonna have a lot more benefit than just
It's not gonna
trying to
help us
fix
with
IDEM.
IDEM.
Agreed.
So I don't wanna characterize that we're gonna be fixing IDEM.
No, I agree.
And a good faith effort towards blocking crap going in there,
Yep.
then you're gonna do that.
Well, I would argue that point with the Jim and Dwayne work.
I'm not gonna argue with you, I'm gonna vote for your project.
I'm gonna vote for it too.
Stop while you're
No, get
ahead.
him to stop before me.
Stop while you're ahead.
He's on your side, don't blow it.
Yeah. Pass your teammate. I'm gonna do it.
Okay, any other discussion before the vote? Okay, so the motion is,
Not to exceed $7,500. Approve the TJ gate quote. It would leave a little bit of room if we were gonna change maybe a keypad, and it would cover the cost for Ken and his team, and it's a single vote to expedite the process.
I've got a motion on the table, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thanks, guys. Ken, I don't know what you need to get this moving. Do you have everything you need?
I believe so.
All
Here
right.
we go.
So is AJ going to contact the defense company, or is Ken going to need to contact?
I can do it.
I'll forward you to it. Did I forward you the quote already?
You have nothing.
If there's any required follow-up, Ken, just go to AJ. AJ, you'll still be able to help out in the background, or is it correct?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, AJ. Thanks, guys. Campground mower, Ken Roselle.
Oh.
I know, I'm tired.
What I requested was, to purchase a lawnmower, riding lawnmower for the campground. The one we have down there is I budgeted this year for the equipment. Got the old mower, it's got over 1,500 hours on it. It's kind of seen its last day. I've got it sold for about $1,000. One of the quotes I shared with you during the ops meeting, I had a verbal commitment from the mower zone they're all about the same size, 52 inch, $7,295. Plainfield equipment, I don't know what they were thinking, but it was $91.64.
Wow.
Keeners, the ones we got the.
That come with heated seats?
Keeners?
Yeah, Keener's the one we got our other mowers from for the maintenance guys. 52-inch mower, got a 5-year warranty, or up to 1,500 hours. 4636. Well, actually it's 5636. I just minus the 1,000 I sold the mower for, so it's 4636. What a net balance would be.
How many hours would we put on a mower in a year? What do you think?
For that one down there, probably about 6 to 7. He mows about twice a week down there.
Is there different engines or anything on the mower zone versus?
Obviously, the one with Plainville must have been a turbocharger. I
Yeah.
guess. No, they're both about the same horsepower.
What brand of machine are they?
Mower expert here.
A little bit.
The one was a Husqvarna. The Husqvarna was at the mower zone. The one at Plainfield was a Hustler, and
Yeah.
and then the other one, the one that we got from Keener's, are Gravely's. And
The what?
Gravely's.
Okay. You familiar with those?
Now the
Which one
guys,
do you think's
the
best?
guys really like the Gravely's. Yeah, they.
You do?
Yeah, they're like a tank.
They, and that's the one, and right now, he's got a, the reason it's so much lower was he was giving us a 20% discount, for the price.
So it's really 4636 after the grand you pick up on the.
Correct. And he just needed some kind of a commitment, like, real soon to hold that 20% from the manufacturer.
You're looking to realize the benefit of the new mower this season, right?
Yeah.
You're ready to go, yeah. Before we lose any more value off our existing.
And your equipment replacement budget's got that money in there?
Yeah, we've got, 30,000 in the new equipment.
I make a motion to move ahead with the Gravely.
We don't need a second on, as,
We don't need a 2 vote on this,
Okay.
I don't believe
Okay.
so.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous.
Gravely.
Thank you, guys.
What color is it?
Orange or red?
Orange.
Blue.
Oh, no, forget it. No vote.
Thank you, Ken. Next item on the agenda, fishing tournaments schedule, Ken Roselle.
Oh, that was something else that was shared with you on the, presented during the ops meeting. The, all the fishing tournaments, from how I understand it, that the board needs to approve. I think we had discussed it, there was, how many, Tom, was there?
28.
28, and that was up from?
I don't know, does that include the crappie and the kids tournament? So
It was up from 20, that's what I was gonna say.
up from 20 to 28, and there's probably 3 tournaments that aren't listed yet, you know, kids fishing and the crappie tournament.
So there's gonna be 31?
So
Or that's part of the 21?
it's either one and one, either one kids fishing and one crappie tournament, or more than one kids fishing, but there's only one crappie tournament. Correct?
That sounds right, yeah, I believe.
Our algae treatment's not scheduled, is it? That happens as needed?
Well, this is like every weekend now, so it's,
So they,
Our treatments are usually on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
so that knock out before the
Correct.
tournament, okay. All right, no problem.
And the kids fishing tournament is June 15th from 7:30 to 11:30 in the morning. In case anyone was wondering.
Got it.
So
That's a go.
this is new business, so we're asking for approval for this schedule.
And make
Tournament
a
schedule.
Motion to approve.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
I think Luke's probably brought up a great point. If you didn't approve it, those guys would be out fishing anyway.
That's true. At least we all know and it can be published and people will
They were
hopefully
out
be
in
a
the
little more
snow that other
respectful.
day. 30 or whatever.
Okay, this is gonna take us to the open forum portion of the meeting now. What I'd like to do is keep this open forum to non-covenant business only. Once that open forum is done, we'll call it in to the board meeting, and then we'll open up the floor for any questions or discussion around the covenant vote. So let's kind of keep that completely separate. Before you, Phil, the open forum, I request that, number one, we don't talk about the covenants just yet. Let's keep all those together. Number two, you state your name and your lot number, and then state your business. Don, you had a question earlier, or a comment earlier, and I looked at you and I forgot to go back to you, so I apologize.
When you're talking about the burn, actually, the cleanup committee started the burn, and it used to be once a year, and it was leaves in the fall. And then it evolved into what it is, but I don't come out and shut us down and say, no, and really did a lot of research in the parameters under which you could burn didn't fit. We had, I don't know how many piles, we tried hire and chipper, which was extremely expensive. To get another one where a truck would come out and mulch it, that was completely out of sight cost-wise. So we just kind of let it smooth over and then start it up again. Except our term was you don't refer to it as a yard waste site, never a burn site, because what shut us down the first time was a homeowner complained because of the smoke that brought them out. And then we were tried then after that, the burning procedure, that's when John Metzger tried to do small burns where it burned real quick in the day and nothing was really evident. Like now when those piles get humongous. But from my perspective, I know it's always been illegal from day one. Good luck.
Thanks, Don, that makes us feel a whole lot better. Phil.
Phil McKinley, 330 Patriots Landing. Just to follow up on the comment about possibly marking the buoys at the entrance of coves, that came up in a discussion in the Lake Committee that although we have all kinds of intersection numbers and so forth around the lake, we don't do as well with the body of the lake itself, identifying the locations of possible emergencies. And so just one very simple thing that I would like to encourage, and I hope this makes the minutes, is to encourage homeowners to put their address either on their dock or their boathouse or their boat lift. I have that out in front of my house, and if there's just enough of people that did that, it would be very easy for someone to say, I'm near 64 Mill Springs, problem solved. And if the board would be willing to support that, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Good information, that's a good idea, Phil, thank you. Diane.
Diane Howard, 309 Gettysburg. So, I don't know anything else, but I need some clarification. As of tonight, are we allowed or are we not allowed to put stuff in that pile out there?
I think it needs to be closed until further notice, until we have a plan on how to manage the stuff going in and what we do with it once it's there. So I think Ken is gonna send a notice out to the community. I don't know if we're gonna put signs there, at least until we can get the gate thing sorted out and moving. But I think that's gonna be on Ken to make sure that everybody's aware.
So you better hurry, because it'll probably close tomorrow.
It's still almost light out.
What time?
Yeah. Can we get out there at 7 and be okay?
No, just take it to Muhlenvines. He's having a burn party, I heard.
I've got my own bags to get rid of.
Bring the weenies, right, too.
Anything else?
Is there any other place? I heard there's a place by Bainbridge. Is there some place else, even if you'd have to pay a little bit, where you can, close?
Doesn't Greencastle have?
Yeah, but that's clear across on the west side as far as I know.
I think if anybody has the time to do a search on that and let the rest of the community know, I think that would be helpful for sure. anything you guys find out that you think would help our neighbors here, try to manage this stuff. I think it'd be a good idea. I don't know right now.
Farmers can burn, so if you know a farmer, that's better. I mean, I ask those questions, and yes, farmers can burn. And everybody can burn.
You can burn.
Can we just put a couple of rows of corn back there?
Isn't there restrictions in the bylaws on
You
what
need
can
a,
be
you need a
burned?
burn pit, like
Yeah.
a 5-foot diameter.
Right.
And you need to ask permission or something too?
You need a burn pit, 5-foot diameter.
Well, there's gonna be a lot of those probably now, probably.
Yeah, and that's the danger, guys. That's why we need to come up with a plan, because there is gonna be danger of people either burning that, they don't know what they're doing, and they're gonna catch everything else on fire, including their neighbors, including their house, and who knows what else. They're gonna dump stuff in the lake, in open areas. We really, I mean, it has the potential to get out of hand real quick, so we're gonna do what we can to make sure this gets.
I just thought, I heard there was someplace up by Bainbridge, but no one's familiar with that spot.
Bainbridge?
By Bainbridge.
Bainbridge does have one that's kind of out behind their school, but to my knowledge, it's mainly for the town of Bainbridge people. I did, you know, out of my frustration, I did throw Bainbridge under the bus, and I did tell them that they had a burn area. And I asked them what the difference was, and she said there is no difference, but she's just one person.
Well, there used to be a Bainbridge burn area too.
You know what? They can't burn, we can't burn anything.
Back row.
Roger Wright, 466 Mill Spring. I'm kind of passionate about this Eagle project. I tried to get it off the ground about 6 years ago and it didn't get any traction. I'm glad that everybody's jumping on board with it. There's going to take some extensive research on this. You can't just go out and put a pole up and a couple things on top of it. Some of the research that I've found is that these nests will last, those eagles, for 20 plus years. And they weigh in excess of 1,000 pounds. I'm not sure a telephone pole can hold that 1,000 pounds in a wind. Okay? I was going to call today and I got distracted from information I got. I was going to call Patoka Lake and get all of their information. They invented the wheel. They have them. Let's get their information. Same with Monroe. If we could do that, get more information. One of the things that I found in the research going to the different states, one location had a lake, they had eagles. They spent $25,000 building a steel pole with a bowl on top of it for them to build in it. Well, the eagles liked their nest better than that one and never used it. So, and I found out today that the eagles on the south end, that tree fell down was why we started all this. They're standing in the tree right behind it right now. So they're still down there. What we may look at, instead of considering a full-blown eagle nests, because we don't know that they're going to come from where they're nesting right now, if they stay there 20 years, let's build perches. Take the poles that are suggested and build a crossbar on it that's, that's braced, so they can sit in those areas down there, right behind the restroom and the parking lot on the dam is where it's been suggested. It's a high area. You can make this thing 6-7 feet, all three eagles or osprey or whatever can sit there and watch the lake. That's why they set up there. They watch the lake to see the fish, and then they go down and do it. We could build those. I think the dead tree that right out here, that the osprey, all 5 osprey used to be there every morning several years ago, and I think that tree fell down. We could put one down here, for them to roost on or set on, and then build one at the other end. So we might be able to simplify this whole project, but there's a ton of information. The U.S. Wildlife, Game and Wildlife, they've got rules and regs. We fall under DNR. The gentleman I talked to Friday hadn't called me back yet. He's trying to get more information from it, so just want to throw that out there.
Roger, I appreciate the amount of time you're putting into this and the effort and the research and making sure that before we start anything, we really have as much information as we can, so we're doing it the right way. We don't want to redo it. We don't want to put something up there and then it's just a disaster. So
if you build a nest, you can't build out of treated lumber. You got to build certain size. I've got several blueprints from different places. But I suggest making a group, an eagle group or whatever, and because I can't do this, it's going to take a lot of input, a lot of effort by people, and I don't have that energy.
I guess one thing, and I'm sure Roger's aware of it, that property down there belongs to Clear Creek
And their meeting
Conservancy.
is Thursday, we need to go.
Next Thursday,
I
I
plan to
believe.
go I've already talked to Don Allen, the maintenance, and he's talked to Doug, who's in charge of the thing. They're 100% for it, they gave me the locations that they'd like to see it. They know about it, they're gonna bring it up at their board. So
Perfect.
it should be, our board members right here for that.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Roger.
Stand up
That's
and
good
wave.
information. I gotta say, every time we talk about the Eagles, I think Hotel California, why don't they just go there, right? I just can't get that out of my head.
There's a gentleman in the back row.
Anybody else?
Did you have a question back here next to Roger?
No, that's okay.
You changed your mind?
You good?
You got scared?
Well, I got a question.
All right.
Curtis Calvert, 309 if you shut down that eco disposal pit,
Recycling.
recycling pit, if you shut that down immediately, you're gonna have a lot of people really ticked off at you. Because there's a lot of people, including us, that are in the process of cleaning up stuff that we already have. So you really should give a week, if possible, or even 2 notice before you do that. Otherwise, you're gonna have more people angry with you than you are over that topic we're not supposed to talk about.
How about if AJ or Ken, they talk to TJ's fence and they give us a date on when they can come out, and and I'm just gonna pick a date, they can come out May 3rd. Okay, that's just a few weeks down the road. Everybody got a week and a half, 2 weeks, get your brush over there.
But then what do we do with it? It's just gonna sit in a big pile. We can't do
already is.
anything with it.
Actually, to what I mentioned earlier, when I was over at the burn pit this week, and I don't want anybody in here or on YouTube to think that everybody out here is burning the wrong stuff or putting the wrong stuff in the burn pile. The yard waste side, God, that's gonna be hard to say. Out there Saturday, Curtis and Diane are a perfect example. They pull in there with their yard debris that's supposed to go in the leaf side, and that's where they put it, and then they take their sticks and their limbs and they put it in the brush side, just the way it's designed to do. Another elderly couple, I mean, I almost brought a tear to my eye. He backs up to the leaf side, he gets all his leaves out, and he's got one 10-gallon bucket or 5-gallon bucket of twigs that I said, let me carry that over to you. Come on. I said, no, I got it. He walked across there, wound his way through all the vehicles over there, and put it on the side where the brush is that's supposed to go at. So there's a lot of great people out here who are using that site exactly the way it's designed to use. There's a handful who are just, hey, I got trash to throw, and I'm gonna get rid of it. There was a gentleman who showed up in a dump truck full of brush Saturday. Curtis saw him out there.
And he was pulling a trailer with a huge log.
Yep, he's pulling a trailer, I think a couple of big logs on the back of it. None of that's against the rule. It's brush, it's just big brush. I went over to ask him if he could at least take the logs home and cut them up and bring them back. Because if Ken's guys gotta go after the tractor and they're pushing a 20-foot long log and it flips over, who knows where it's gonna go? And he had no problem, and went back and did it and said not a problem. So most of the folks out here, 99% of the folks are using it the right way and wanna see it work.
That gentleman, by the way, had a truck that was marked with he's a contractor. He said it was his own stuff.
It is.
I assume that it is. But you know, that was a huge truck, and that was a huge trailer. He probably hauled more that day than we have in the last 2 or 3 years.
I've seen your truck loaded, Curtis, I doubt it.
My 5x8 trailer and the back of my pickup was already compared to that big monster.
But what I want to kind of compare apples to apples is, how long has Clear Creek been dealing with the same issue on people flushing the wrong things down the toilet?
Ever since we put in a sewage system.
We will have the same issue here. People will continue to bring down things like that. We have talked, since I've been in this place, we have talked about it and talked about it. I've sent emails out. People do what they want to do.
I would say the difference being is, as a board, we can put electronic equipment in place to monitor it and to control it. I'm not gonna put a camera in your bathroom and watch what you flush.
Well, that's a very good point.
I mean, sorry.
And
that's
I'm
just-
happy for that.
Sorry, Dwayne, we got a solution that we just can't use for you.
Shot that again.
All right, any other things? Go ahead.
Pam McKinley, 330 Patriots Landing. A couple of questions. It seemed like the last time we took anything over to the recycling area, that I had a hard time finding the signs anymore. But I mean, I know basically where you're supposed to dump the things, but are the signs still there? Are they gone or?
It's right up front by the road.
Oh.
Great big old sign.
But does it tell you which pile you're supposed to put things in?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's a small one over the right,
Yeah.
it says yard
Yeah.
waste system,
Yeah.
it's got knocked over.
Yeah, yeah.
And shame on me for not standing
Right.
back up when I ran over.
And the other thing that I was wondering about is, and I'm all in favor of a gate, but if you restrict the time that the gate is open, you know, like to 3 to 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock on a Saturday, first of all, Saturday is a big day for people to do their yard work.
Right.
And if you only open it for 2 hours once a week, you're gonna have everybody trying to go at the same time. So you need to have a little flexibility on, you know, days of the week or times, or maybe Sunday afternoon or something like that. Otherwise, it's gonna be chaos down there.
Agree, definitely.
I think the times we talked about were just let's
Yeah.
get some discussion talked about.
But you have to have some people who work on the weekends and can't be there
Absolutely.
during the week. And
It's gonna be a challenge. We've got a
Yeah.
lot of work ahead of us to try to
Yeah.
get this whole thing under control one way or another. It's not gonna be perfect. We might have to make some adjustments, but I think we're all in agreement that we've got to do something. We can't wait any longer, so.
Oh, I agree.
Anybody have any other non-covenant business? If not, I will take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, the board meeting is now adjourned. Now we would like to open up the floor to any items, questions that you have around the covenants. I've got a couple rules I want to get out there before we get started. This is meant to be a productive discussion amongst us neighbors, talking about what the issues are, what questions you have, any discussion that you want to have around that. We're going to be respectful. This isn't meant to be a fight. It's meant to be a back and forth. So let's keep it like that, all right? Because if you can't, we're going to have to ask people to leave. We don't want to do that. So we're here to answer your questions. We're here because we want to help you make a decision which way to vote on the covenants. Yes, front. Sorry, name and lot number, please.
Shannon Leap, 2 Lincoln Hills. I got a petition on a ballot. And it seems to me there's a very distinct difference between those two. And I'm assuming that the word petition was put at the top there for a very specific reason. So I wanted to know what that reason was.
That's a requirement in the statute now,
Indiana code.
Indiana law.
So what's the difference between a petition and a ballot?
It's what our attorneys advised us, that the Indiana statute requires that it be referred to as a petition. We did not investigate the
What is it?
definitions in Indiana law on those.
What is it that you said you're talking about changes in covenants have to be a petition? Is that what I'm getting?
I didn't ask him whether we were using, in other votes that we might do, we were only talking about the covenant, and they said you must use the word petition.
Because it's a covenant issue.
I did not ask them that. I asked them, we were in the context of petition, which of covenant, so I believe that he was talking about covenants.
So is he going to petition the court? I guess that's my question.
No, the court doesn't even get involved in this.
The court approved the covenants.
No.
originally.
No.
Our lawyer.
The recorder takes the covenant. Courts don't rule on this. You file your covenants with the recorder.
So this is not a legal document then? Other than
No, of course it's a legal document.
I mean, anybody could record anything they wanted.
No, the county recorder.
It's the Putnam County recorder who has our real estate, all of our property, all those things are filed there. No judge looks at those.
So the recorder then passes judgment on whether what you put to them is legal or not.
No, not at all. They have nothing to do with that. All right, let's go over how courts work, okay? First of all, judges only opine if there is a litigation or if they are writing an opinion that has something to do about a matter of law. Everything else, courts don't make any documents, they don't do anything. Attorneys draft them, or citizens draft them, and then they file it with the court, and the court approves it, like a divorce. That would be an example.
Yeah, so,
A covenant is done with an office of the state or the county.
oh, okay.
The courts aren't even involved unless you litigate the covenant.
So then what's the next step? After you get this petition, what happens?
If it goes forward and we get enough votes, we get them certified, which Jim's going to be doing part of that. We then take that document and we take the votes themselves, we file them with the recorder, and the recorder accepts them.
Okay.
Each of the offices has their own procedures, like the clerk's office, like if somebody files for divorce, it has to be in their form. And then like if you're going to transfer a deed or something on property, the recorder's office requires a quitclaim. That has to be in their form, and this is their form.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it's been an issue that we can't get anything done because the covenants, the way they're written now, kind of forces us to get a certain number of votes and so on. But, I mean, if all it takes is what you're talking about now, that means that the lawyer has found a way to get this done.
No. What this is no matter what the required number of votes is, that petition or ballot, we'll call it, you could call it either one, but technically it's a petition, that ballot still has to define exactly how many votes it would take in order to pass that petition and how many lot owners the petition was sent to. Is that correct?
Right.
Right? So you can't just say, I'm only going to send it to 750 people, and then if I get 500 back, it's a pass. It still has to say exactly how many required votes in favor it would take to pass it and how many lot owners are being sent the petition. And when the petition expires or when the votes have to be cast by. So this isn't, if we send this out, let's say that this passes and we say from now on, all you need are 750 minimum votes cast in order to pass a petition. 2/3 of those would be 500, that's what will pass it, right? Now that still does not mean if we send something out in 2 years, we're trying to change the covenants, we do all the right stuff, it's all worded right, we send out the petition to all the members in good standing, everybody passes, fills out their ballot, submits it. We don't just stop once we get 750. That petition or ballot voting period is open until the date on that ballot says it closes. So however many votes we get, we take the 2/3 of whatever that total number of votes is to determine whether it passes or fails. Does that make sense?
But not for this.
Yeah, for this one, it's the old way. We still have to get 2/3 of all lot owners to vote yes in order for this covenant change to pass now. Does that make sense?
So the petition now has to follow the current rules that are currently
That's
in
what I was
place.
concerned about.
Which are still
All
defined
owners.
right on that petition. It's one of the boxes right in the middle of your petition. It says how many lot owners, how many votes required to pass it, and the date by which the votes need to be returned.
So we have to
That's not gonna
pass,
change.
we have to use the old rules to pass.
pass the current covenant.
To make the new rules happen. The new covenant, sorry.
We have to get 1,991 votes for this to pass.
Positive votes.
Yes.
Positive votes, right.
Okay.
Good?
That's
All right,
fine. I just
next.
want to make sure I understood the
Yep,
process.
yep, that's what we're here for.
It's a good question.
Diane?
Diane Talbot, 309 Gettysburg. I was wondering, this current covenant under which we're under was changed to increase association dues. We read through it. There's 2 changes in there. First it was $30, then it was $60, and then it was according to the index.
Consumer Price Index. Right.
So there have been changes to it. Now, when those changes were voted on and approved or whatever, and registered, were they registered 6 times? 1, Jefferson Valley approved it, 2, Gettysburg approved it, 3, Patriots Landing approved it. Did they have to be registered 6 times? Does anybody know? Now, this time, is it going to have to be recorded with the recorder 6 times, saying all 6 subdivisions approved this? So now it's going to supposedly 1, because I'm thinking if it wasn't registered 6 times, then we never had 6 covenants. We had 1 covenant. But if we had 6 covenants, it would have had to been registered 6 times when those changes were made. So I was wondering, I know that was back in the, whatever, 80s or 90s or something.
70s.
Well, there was one in 1998 too, apparently. That
Well, but you
for
were,
the
I thought you were
association
referring to the
fees.
neighborhoods.
For the association fees, that changed the covenant so that we could go by the consumer price index. There was actual changes in the covenant because it says right in there, first it was 30, then it was changed to 60, and then it was changed to.
I don't know the
price.
answer, I don't know the answer to that, Diane. I don't know, Jim, if you do, but,
I know the 6th question. The developer, I believe, developed Jefferson Valley first. And when he did that, he set a covenant before he did anything. He set the covenants that he wrote. And then when Jefferson Valley was at a point in its development where it was time to go to the next one, he filed new covenants for that one, which would, I don't know which one it was. Mill Spring, Lincoln Hills, one of them. And then when that one got to the point where it was pretty much where he had it in place, then he filed another covenant, which is what all of our...
Those weren't different covenants.
I'm talking right now, okay? Each one has the name of that particular borough in it, in the
Okay,
covenant.
then if there were actually 6 different ones, then this covenant and the other changes should have had to been recorded 6 different, for each 6 different divisions. And if they weren't, then it was sort of like acknowledging that there was just one covenant and everybody agreed.
I would agree with you, Diane, it would have had to been, maybe was supposed to have been done, but that the clerk's or the recorder's office, the recorder's office accepted it as it was applied, submitted, that's the word, thank you so much. If it was accepted as it was submitted, that makes it correct. It makes it correct for all subdivisions. The recorder's office accepted what was presented to her, submitted to her. That makes it all in good graces. It makes everything. It makes it fine. It makes it a legal. And I understand what you're saying. Are there 6? Should there have been 6? I wasn't around, and I don't know.
I
But-
suppose we could go find out.
But it's not going to change what we're trying to do. Just to, really, the changing it from the 6 to 1 is just to clear up some mess. It's just to clear up a gray area. That's all it's for, because it's not even a gray area. It's just a mess because all the subdivisions have the same covenants. All 6 had the same covenants. So instead of having that confusion, instead of having 6, we make it into 1 because we're all going by the same covenants anyway.
Wasn't it just one covenant that was just registered 6 different times? But-
basically,
So
so
why
here's
doesn't it make
the
it
deal.
just one covenant?
So
Why
that's
does
what we're trying to do, right? And that's why, because Mill Springs can't do something they can't change the covenants, well, the rest of the other 5 subdivisions can't, right? We all are living in one community. The way the covenants were originally written was to manage 6 individual neighborhoods, not a single community. And I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to either read the video transcripts or listen to the videos that have been posted on the Heritage Lake POA website, but we've covered 8 different primary topics around this whole big thing about the covenants. It has a lot of these answers already in it. If you're tired of hearing my voice, you can just read them. If you don't like to read, you can listen to them. but we tried to answer a lot of these questions up front. So if you go to the HLPOA website, under information documents, there's covenant scripts that have 8 individual files that you can read through that answer a lot of these questions. Information, documents, covenant scripts. Or you can just go to the home page and look for important links, which is towards the bottom left, and it has the covenant videos there. Clicking on that link will take you to the series of YouTube audio files, which you can go ahead and listen to the same thing in the scripts, only audio version, so you don't have to read all day.
Where's that at?
It's on the Heritage Lake POA website.
Put the links to
The links to the YouTube is on the website as well, under important links. And guys, I mean, this is put together by this board to try to help explain some of these things that we keep getting tripped up on. At the end of the day, what we are trying to do is trying to allow the community to vote on these in the future. If there's future changes that need to be made, whether they're necessary, whether we think that there's something that's missing, whether we want them more restrictive, this will give the community a fair shot at voting in a way that you have a chance to actually achieve an answer. It's almost impossible now, we know this. How many times with all of you guys sitting here have we been through this same thing, right? We're not trying to make any other changes to the covenants now. We're not talking about mini barns, we're not talking about assessments, we're not talking about how we classify our membership, people that live here, people that don't, none of that. But all of those things that the community continues to bring to this board year after year, things that we say that we want together, we have no way to make those changes to allow us to even vote as a community as to whether we even all want them as a majority. Changing these does not guarantee we'll get mini barns added to the covenants, but it gives us a chance to actually vote on that as a community to determine whether we will or won't be able to do that. It's a democracy. It's going to be the people that vote. Your voices have not mattered because the people that haven't voted have stopped us from getting the numbers one way or another to say, yes, the community is going to go forward with it, or no, we're not. And we're not talking about just changes in the way we have things now, but maybe further restrictions to prevent things from changing more in the future too. This gives you the power. This board has zero power to make a single change or approval of these covenants. The only way it can happen is by you guys voting for it or against it. That's all we're asking you to do. Vote. Yeah.
Yes, so if you don't get the
1991.
All of our effort, Diane, is getting the 1991. Not even the 1991. The total number of votes either for or against.
But
right?
then it has to be dropped again if you don't.
It does.
Get
That's correct.
What's your answer?
What's your answer?
What do you guys suggest?
Well, see, a lot of people, and we have, Curtis and I over the years have talked to a lot of people. Not, I mean, everybody we meet, not just knowing whether they're for or against certain things, just a lot of people, and we phone people, even those who don't live on the lake, we just had a lot of country, a lot of people. Most people, it seems, live out here, they're content with the way it is because they don't see any need for changes, they don't, they just want to be left alone. They don't want to have all of this. They don't see any need for it. And I would say that was a lot of people. So why, if there are some people who are discontent with the way things are, why are they putting us through all of the hassle of those of us who just want to be left alone?
You know why, Diane?
I appreciate the way things are now.
This is why, Diane, because that doesn't tell the board what direction to take this community. We can't guess what people abstaining from voting, why they've abstained. Did they abstain because they don't understand what the heck we're even asking them to do? Do they abstain because, like you said, they're happy, they don't see a need for change? Or do they abstain because they're against it? Either way, if they just show us what they feel and what they want by just casting your vote. If you don't think you want it, then vote no. It's not that hard. And this is costing the community money by the people not voting because we have to continue to go out and try to chase those votes. With your membership money, putting postage on all these envelopes, mailing these ballots out 2 and 3 times. Now, that's another reason why we've looked at better ways to return the ballots via electronic means to save your postage and this POAs by not having to keep going through this time and time and time again. We want to know one way or the other, Diane, and I don't know why anybody here wouldn't want us to do that.
Oh,
Last
what was
one,
the
because you gotta
elec-
get someone else to
yeah,
turn.
okay. What was the electronic glitch
Okay,
that
so,
made the first invalid and then?
I'll tell you why. Yep. So we've really worked, and you're disgusted by it, I'm disgusted by it. We worked really hard to try to embrace the technology that's out there, bring us into the 21st century. What can we do, again, to save us money in the long run and trying to solicit the votes, trying to send out the ballots, trying to make it easy for people to return their ballots. So we looked at this electronic voting website. For those of you that got the electronic voting invitation, is pretty cool. I mean, you click on the link, it takes you right to the ballot, you look at the ballot, it has the important documents right there with it, you click yes or no and you're done. It records your vote, brings it back, boom, end of story. And you're now on file as having voted, so we don't have to chase you down later. It was great. The problem is, between Jim and myself, once we saw that email went out and we looked at it, we knew that that ballot not only didn't look like the paper one, because it's electronic, it's not going to match word for word, but we didn't think the wording was correct, and further, there was no way to actually record a physical signature and capture it. Like, you know, like when you go to the bank or you go to a store and you have to sign that little thing and here's your signature, right? Even on some documents you get sent back from an official source, you can actually put your signature on it and send it back. That's what we expected. It couldn't happen that way. And because of that, those ballots would not have counted. So the people that did step out of their comfort zone and actually voted like that, that's awesome. We were happy to see that. But now you got to do it a different way. So those ballots were invalidated. They don't count. Those same people were all sent an email, the ones that voted, telling them your vote didn't count this way. Please use the other methods available to cast your ballot. And everybody has the chance. Everybody got the mail ballot as well. Sorry, petition. Everybody got the mailed one. They went out last week, so everybody should have had them in their mailbox. And if you don't get it yet, there's a lot of opportunities to obtain a ballot. Call the office, make sure that they've got your correct contact information and address. They'll send you a new one. Pick one up at the office. The board is going to be visible. That's one of the reasons for the shirts. We're going to be in the community. If you have questions, when we're wearing these shirts, it's great. If I'm in my bathing suit on my boat, leave me the heck alone, all right? Because I'll try to answer whenever I can, but you don't need to see me all the time. So this says, come and talk to us. I spent some really good time on Saturday up at the marina with some really good neighbors, just talking about this stuff with them. And that helps a lot break down the suspicion, I guess, that there is, the uncertainty, the lack of knowledge about what really all of this is about. That's why we're here, guys. We really, really think this is important enough to pursue.
Is electronic?
Sorry, Diane, we got to give someone else a chance. We'll get back to you if we have time. It's not open anymore. It's not going to be. But you can still electronically return your ballot via text, email, fax. What other way did I miss?
Ballot box.
The ballot, yeah, actually physically deliver it, mail it, whatever. So there, you can still use the electronic methods, but not the website, not the voting website.
Do you have to sign it?
Yes.
All have to be signed.
It's the physical ballot that looks like, I don't know, wherever it is. It's the regular ballot.
It's the same one everybody gets.
You take what you do is you fill it out, yes or no. You sign your name, you put your lot number, you print your name. What else? Is that it?
You can put your email address.
You
if
put
want
your
to.
email address, you take a picture of it, send it from your phone with the picture to the text, to the email, wherever you want to send, however you want to send it, or just
Scan it.
email back.
Or mail it.
Done.
Tom, we have 138 pages line. From your past history, when you conduct the ballots, send them all out, those that you don't get back, do you know whether, is that mainly like people who own lots here and live in North Carolina and don't, is that where the majority?
Tom's got the answer to that. We looked
The
at
last
that.
time we went through this, it turned out 50-50. People who have homes, who live here year-round versus the other group of people that you're saying. it turned out 50-50. So, no, it's not the people who live in Florida and have a lot here who might visit it once every 5 years. Though that's not what's swaying, it's people not voting. Period.
Right.
Linda. Oh, sorry, Phil. Go ahead, Phil.
Phil McKinley, 330.
You're next, Linda. Sorry.
Phil McKinley, 330 Patriots Landing. You explained that so well, there's not a lot to add. I just wanted to remind people that this really came out of the strategic plan that we did a few years ago, that the people who looked at our community and our covenants basically said that we don't have the ability to govern ourselves in a reasonable way. And so that was kind of the beginning of this whole initiative. Some of the ones that have been tried in the past, I know I thought Curtis brought up a valid argument against one of the previous attempts, that there was really no minimum number of votes that have been required. And obviously no one wants to have a backroom deal or something like that. So I think as I look at this, that this is a well thought out forward step in making this a more democratic community. So I want to thank everyone who participated in this.
Thank you, Phil. Linda.
Linda Lawler, Patriots Landing, 44 and 45 Patriots Landing. I want to thank the board and all who have been involved with moving us to this point. You have spent countless hours. I'm sure there have been times you have not slept trying to get through some of this, to protect us, to do what needs to be done, to help us be effective in moving and growing forward. And I personally want you to know, I'm grateful for your sacrifice. You had a lot of other things you wanted to do this weekend, Chris, but you spent time answering questions. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
It has been a complete effort by the board, spearheaded by Jim. Jim's been tirelessly working on this, and it takes a lot of work, so we appreciate you for acknowledging that.
I want to add one thing too about what you said about the vote minimum. We missed that on the last one. Curtis raised the issue about the ability of large numbers of properties to concentrate their power and do a backroom deal. That guy right there, across from me, is the sole reason we had that on there. Tom Novak put that 750 thing in there and insisted tirelessly to get it done. And thank you, Tom, for that, what you did, because it was a great idea.
You guys, I hope it's clear that regardless of whether you agree with this or disagree with it, like the changes, hate the changes, we really, really want to drive home that this board is committed to supporting this because we believe in it and we believe it's important. Now, whether you want to vote yes or no, that's totally your choice. We're trying to make it as clear as possible so you can make an informed decision, but just vote, don't abstain, that's what's killing us. Curtis.
Curtis Talbot, 309 Gettysburg. I agree with you 100% that everybody ought to vote. I am not against people voting. I do think these are bad sets of covenants. I don't think 750, which by the way, the rescue board members that were there at the time dismissed when he wanted 750, Tom caved in. That isn't even enough. That's a small number considering the fact that you got almost 1,500 votes last time.
Curtis,
now,
the ballot's going to go. Okay, the ballot's going to go to everybody still. It's a memorandum.
Yes, I know it is.
Okay, just want to make sure.
It will this time. There's no guarantee it'll go next time because you've got your good standing in which you're going to could possibly eliminate a lot of people.
Get to the question, man.
I'm giving you my position and why I'm against these covenants. They're very poorly written. You have a number of errors in your covenants that could in effect keep you from changing anything for 20 years simply because you didn't proofread it closely. And there's several places where it should have been changed where you didn't change it.
Curtis, we can't go backwards. We've got to move forwards.
But this is not the way to do it.
These people didn't write those covenants. Don't scold them.
Yes, they did.
Okay, hey, that's enough. Keep the voices down, guys. Curtis, if you made your point, are you good?
No, I'm not finished yet.
You got one more thing?
I can have several questions or answers.
But everybody gets a chance, Curtis.
My wife had was 7. I should have at least 3 or 4. This gentleman had several.
It's correct, Curtis. Come on.
The second thing is, the last time this board had in fact talked about, had considered, they may not have had any former vote, that they would take this to a court if they did not receive enough votes. That is well documented, and you know it, and Jim's name's on that document, and I think Tom's is. There were 4 board members and 3 non-board members on that committee that submitted it to the board, and every board member saw it.
Curtis, that's not on the table now, that's not
Yeah,
part
but
of
it
this.
is.
It's not.
Because that same rule that you applied back then to change those covenants, you can apply now. And I think, unless you give me your word, you will not do anything to change these covenants if you do not get enough votes. Except to try again another 2 years.
Curtis, this board has never had that discussion.
That's because you already know what you intend to do.
Okay, your turn's up. Back row, please.
Roger Wright, 466. To clear up some things that we've heard out there, does Clear Creek still own the properties and hypothetically could vote there?
Yes.
That's a correct?
Yes.
Okay.
They've always been able to do that.
134
I understand.
lots. Yep.
Hypothetically, people
How
fear
many?
that because that's a large block of votes.
That's,
one thing, again,
Roger, I think that represented 6% of the yeses needed and 14% of the nos, I believe.
And I agree.
Yep. Haven't voted before. I don't know what their intention to vote now is. That's their
I'm going to
choice.
bring up my point here
Sure.
now. What, hypothetically, again, worst case scenario, we get, after these all pass, we bring up, we want a pine tree somewhere. We're going to vote on it in the covenant. 750 votes is the minimum, okay? 751 people vote, let's say, all right? 2/3 of that is 500, so 501 votes would pass that, all right? Well, I think a lot of us are concerned about is if 251 people that have 2 lots could make the decision for the 1900, or if the Conservancy voted their 143, I believe, or whatever the number of lots
134,
are,
yep.
that could make a major swing in a vote in the future. And again, I trust every one of you guys, okay? I think you're doing your job, you're doing a great job. All of us fear the future, what the future board can do. And that's going to be your thing to try to convince everybody.
No, Jim's.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Roger, I want you to think about the lots that you just referred to.
Mm-hmm.
They presently own those lots.
Right.
They presently have the right to vote them. They don't, historically they haven't. They have the right to vote them.
Understand.
If we don't do something about this covenant agreement now, we will not be able to change the covenants in the future to take away that right for property that is owned either by the POA or them to vote. This very process we're working on will give us as a community the opportunity to take that burden off their back. Because they know that if they don't vote, they're voting against it. If they do vote, they're voting for it. They're in a trick bag.
Yeah.
If we make
They want to
this,
see us not make the minimum.
but if,
of the
I'm sorry?
1900. They want to make sure we never reach the minimum or the 1,900 people that have to vote. You don't get a quorum.
So do you think that the Conservancy is against the?
No, I'm talking about the individuals. I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood. People are not voting, in my opinion, not sending it back in because they know that is just like a no vote because you're not going to get enough to make the 2/3.
That's the problem, Roger, is we don't know what that abstainment means.
Right.
We don't know if they don't care. Let somebody else decide because I don't know enough or I don't care enough to make the decision for somebody else, right? They think maybe they're helping us. Number 2 is they don't agree with it and maybe they think, all right, well, if I don't send my vote in, I know it's going to block it, so I'm good, right? Or number 3, they just don't know which way to vote, so they're scared to, so they don't. But that's what we're really working so hard to educate the community on, and we're going to have a lot of work to do to chase down those people that typically don't vote.
I think you would have had a better chance. I agree to several of the changes. I wish they would have been separate and we could have voted on them separate. We'd have got them out of the way. I think if the minimum required votes was higher than 750, you'd have had a better chance, gotten people on board.
So consider this, so we need, let's say we got, rounded up, we got 3,000 lots, right? So let's say half of that, which we typically get back maybe half the ballots, so that's 1,500. If in the future, we still only get half the ballots back, that takes us to 750. So I think it's kind of forward thinking, but again, it's the minimum. We're always going to be governed in a way where we have to send a ballot out to everybody like we currently do, but we're not going to be tied to the lack of returns back. That's everybody's choice, whether to return it or not, but our duty is going to be to send it out, and our rule and our obligation and our law dictates that we have to send it to every member in good standing, right? So everybody that's current in their dues, hasn't been suspended for any reason, you get a ballot in the future. That's what POA law is about. You can't just send it to 750 people because you know they're going to vote and you know you're going to get your numbers back.
I'm not saying the board.
I know, but there's people that may think that, right? And I understand that. But it's not going to change how the ballots are distributed. It's going to change how the ballots are counted that come back. Voting has the power. Everybody in this community that cares enough to vote, your voice should be heard. It shouldn't be blocked from people that don't vote.
Thank you.
AJ?
I had two questions. Jim, how many total votes did we have last time? Or Jim, other Jim?
Ooh, he wasn't involved in the last one.
Do you remember how many were even returned at all? Yes, no, maybe?
15 something,
I think it's
would
about
say.
1,500.
So we didn't get enough votes to go either direction.
Right.
With the way we had done it previously. We didn't have enough for a yes, we didn't have enough for a no. We didn't have enough for anything.
Right.
What were roughly the numbers of the way it shook out, though?
It was over 70% yes, and the rest no.
So the community as a whole, of the few people that voted, of the 50% of the community that voted, 70% said, yes, we want to make some changes. So I understand that there's a lot of people out there that think that this is a terrible thing. I had a lot of people asking me, I'm younger, you know, I have people asking me like, I don't know anything about politics, I don't want to be involved in politics, but I own 4 lots and I didn't vote. So in essence, they just sent in 4 no votes, but didn't actually cast 4 no votes, and I would have rather them just sent 4 no's. Yeah. If that's the case, just stand up, speak out for yourself, and say yes or no. If there's that many people, and I'll use air quotes, that in this community that feel that this is a bad thing, then they need to come out and say no, and vote no, put your name on the document and say, I say no. And if, as we've seen in the last vote, 70% of the votes returned were yeses, or roughly somewhere in there.
It's actually more than that.
We'll say 70. Let's give the benefit of the doubt. 70%. If 70% of the community of people that voted, if we could just make sure they all vote again, let's, you know what I mean? There's more.
Decide by the vote, not the non-vote.
Yeah, I said this in the last executive meeting, and I know it might sound terrible, but it's like, I'd rather find out yes or no what the real answer is. If the community really comes out and says no, great, we can at least move on and say that we tried, we gave it our damnedest, and we moved on.
Okay, anybody who hasn't previously, thank you, AJ.
Yeah.
Anybody who hasn't previously asked a question, I think, Jim? Go ahead.
Two comments. One, can we go back in the history books the last 25 years that we've done this? Because we've tried this many times. How many votes did we get each time? I'll bet you the 1,500 was probably the highest we've ever had in the 25 years I've been here, okay? My other comment was, when I saw the ballot and I saw the 750, my first reaction was, wow, that's kind of a low number. But then I started applying that in my own mind back to all the years we've had board elections, which Deb and I have been on, and Shannon, a bunch of us have been on for many years. We very rarely hit 750 votes, very rarely. Probably in the last 10 years, we've had maybe 2 or 3 years where we got 1,000. And that was because we had 8 or 9 people running, and that does make a difference. So I'm thinking the 750 is really a pretty reasonable number to expect out of these votes.
We're still going to have to work real hard to get that, I'm sure.
Well, one of the things that I talked with folks this weekend when they would mention the 750. When was the last election you voted in that there was even a minimum number had to vote? You go to the election, you go to the election hall, you go to the fire station, you vote, and there's a referendum there, it's a yes or no referendum. There could be 9 people vote. 8 say yes, 1 says no, it passes through, but there's 3,000 people that didn't vote. I think the 750 vote minimum is essentially an insurance policy for the community that us crooked board members aren't going to do anything behind your back. It gives y'all the confidence or just the knowledge that, hey, we've got control as a POA. Or the property owners have the control. The board can't just say, okay, there's 9 of us up here, let's do this real quick, and hey, it won 6-3. You know, it can't happen. It has to go out to vote to the public, and by putting that 750 votes, that is my assurance that, because I'm not going to be on this board forever, so I'm off the board. It might be next week after a few things I might have said tonight. You know? But I'm off the board. I'm not on the board anymore, and I'm sitting on a fish and bait retired, and a vote comes out. At least I know that it's going to take 750 people to make this happen. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But at least we can try to get the votes out there.
Shannon Lee, 2 Lincoln Hills. I'd just like to make a suggestion. One of the reasons that you're going to get no votes is that you don't have a line item yes, no. Some of these things people might not be in favor of. It only takes 1 for them to say no.
So
I've made this recommendation to the board before. They said, we hear you, we're going to do this, but that's been a long time ago. None of you knew me back then. And the committee's not working.
So we've heard that recommendation before, and here's the reason why these particular changes are grouped together. Because any one of them individually isn't going to be enough to change how the votes are going to be calculated. It's just not going to work. We have to have all 3 of those elements working. Number 1, you don't want the changes effective 3 years after we make them, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense. We finally get to the point where the community has voted, and now we got to wait 3 more years to realize the benefit of the changes that have been agreed. Number 2, combining the 6 covenants, the individual neighborhood covenants into one community covenant, that's pretty straightforward, right? Now the other elements, 2/3 members in good standing with a 750 vote minimum cast is required to pass an initiative. All those things together give the community the power they need to not have to go back and change the individual elements again later in 3 years after we can finally vote and realistically expect that we get the number of votes back to manage this going forward in the future. We've spent how many years trying to get to this point just to get these things changed in order to give the community the power to not have to spend this ridiculous amount of time and money every other couple of years whenever a new board comes in and thinks they got the golden ticket and they can figure out how to get this done. It's going to be much more simple, much more straightforward, and in the future, yeah, I expect that you guys are all going to come out and say, you know what, we want mini barns. So we're going to put a committee together. We're going to say these are the elements in the current covenants that restrict the use of mini barns. These are the areas in the current bylaws that restrict mini barns, and these are the current rules in the A&E committee book that restrict mini barns. All of those things have to be changed together in order for that change to be effective. So we have to look at all the different places.
I'd like to make one correction. There's nothing that says anything about mini barns. That was one of the suggestions that came out of our committee before, and it was a utility building, and that would be defined by the A&E committee. So talking about mini barns has absolutely no meaning in this discussion because it's never been an issue.
Well, that's a whole other discussion. I don't want to get into that whole thing in this context.
That's why I'm saying we should leave mini barns out, because the other things that are in covenants are the things that are allowed, not the things that are not allowed. That's the problem. People keep saying, oh, but we can't do this because it's not in the covenants or whatever. It's like, the covenants already covers things that are allowed. Now, they do talk about you can't put asphalt shingles on and that sort of thing, but it's an open thing.
I think there's a lot of things in those covenants that have been around in those covenants for a really, really long time, and maybe we need updates. I mean, maybe there's asbestos shingles in there, right? Because when these were written, asbestos was cool, right? And now it's, no one's gonna touch it.
Asbestos is not.
So there's a lot of opportunities in the future to take a look at some of the things that are in there, and for us to dig out the ones that we think are worth pursuing, and it's gonna be the same process. You can't just be like, you know what, I'm Shannon, these are my changes, make it happen, let's get it done. It's gonna be going to the lawyer, making sure all the wording is correct, evaluating all of our other documents to make sure any reference to what's being proposed is covered correctly in the other documents. We had to change our bylaws to allow us to include electronic voting. I mean, there's a lot of things that we have the opportunity to do in the future, and you know what? Maybe that's what kind of worries people is you're gonna have the control to make changes going forward. And maybe it's been nice and safe not being able to because we're not gonna make a mistake that way. It is what it's always been.
You
And that's
don't
safe.
even mention mini barns or structures or anything.
Not in this covenant ballot, no,
Right.
not at all, not at
So
all.
it's
Nope.
not an
Nope.
Chris is just using it as an
And you know what,
example. Yeah.
Shannon, here's a reason why we didn't include mini barns, because it would have made it look like
I
the
agree.
board is gonna say, if you want mini barns, you gotta vote in all this stuff, you guys would have come out with us pitchforks tonight, right? It's not the right thing to do, we're trying to do the right thing.
I agree.
Phil, and then I'll get you, Diane, go ahead.
I was just gonna make the comment that sort of following up with what Jeff said, that in all US elections at every level, it's just whoever shows up to vote, and it's 51% carries the day. So the fact that we even have a minimum and a 2/3 requirement is a considerably higher standard than is out there for most elections for making changes of government. So it doesn't seem like we're trying to make an easy change here, just a possible change.
I appreciate that, excellent point, Phil. Okay, Diane, I'm sorry, go ahead, your turn.
One other thing that's kind of troubling is, in good standing was not defined as to what other violations were covered, how long, if you didn't pay a fine or late, and an election came up, and then you would not be in good standing, so you couldn't vote. But if you had, the next time a vote came up, you had paid the fine, and then you could vote. So we need to have it better defined who is in good standing, how long the not in good standing lasts, and, you know, who's going to decide all of the in good standing problem.
That's a good point, and there's also been a lot of questions about different other ways we could classify the membership to define who should vote, who shouldn't vote. But just for everybody that didn't pick it up in the Article 8, it says the term good standing means the owner is current in all dues, assessments, and other sums owed to the association. Okay, so that tells you right there, that's our consideration now. Could that change in the future? Should it change in the future? Maybe, but that's how it's, and I think it's in one of the bylaws that said under voting rights, it says not only are you current in your dues and assessments, but you're not in violation of any other rules established in the governance of the open spaces, or I think even in the covenants it states somewhere. So those things already exist to a degree, but they've just not really been enforced, because if they were enforced, we wouldn't have sent these ballots to every member like we did. We would have sent it only those at least current in their dues. And I know Deborah's got a whole list of people that aren't.
Yeah, but you still haven't defined how long that not.
You're right, it's not defined anywhere. You're
Well, so
right.
that's very
But
troubling.
no. If you're current in your dues, you're current in your dues. Now, before a ballot goes out, the office does an evaluation, I think 30 or 45 days before the ballot is distributed, to determine who is current in their dues and who members in good standing would be, so we know who the membership, the voting membership is. That's the answer, Diane.
If their fee comes in that they're overdue on, they still can't vote because you've determined they're not in good standing.
Well, we had to set a bar somewhere. We had to set a, they had to set a, hold on.
Worrisome.
We had to set a line in the sand somewhere so that it would be fair for everyone. Diane, if you want the answer, we're more than happy to give you the answer. And like I said, I was not as nearly as deep as Jim and Chris are in this as far as understanding every line or most of the lines of the covenants. But we had to set rules and expectations, so it's fair for everybody. And I know fair is kind of a scary word, but we had to set a line somewhere for the office so that when we were sending out these things, we could make a determination on who was current. Because just like you said, if somebody all of a sudden got real jazzed up about an issue and they paid their dues for some reason, we don't want that person heading up, you know, we want to protect everybody. So we had to set a rule and an expectation for, if you're in good standing as of such and such a date, this is when you're going to be allowed to vote.
Diane, it could be changed in the future, yes, but that change, if it's in the covenants, it would have to, the definition of that member in good standing would have to be changed in the covenants, and guess who votes on whether that change happens or not?
That's not true either.
Curtis, you don't have the floor, sir.
It just seems a little too subjective,
It
yet
is,
to the will
that's
of-
how it's worded now, Diane, that's what we have.
To me,
Well, that's another
Diane,
reason why.
the member in good standing definition, it seemed pretty clear. I pay my dues, or I'm not a member in good standing. If I got cars parked in my backyard up on blocks that aren't running, I'm violating the covenants, I'm violating our rules, I'm not a member in good standing. If I'm a felon, I can't vote in a presidential election.
But you're
So it
making
makes us all
people-
felons.
Yeah, it makes the person who has a car.
What you do illegal?
Treat them like felons.
That's good.
Well, you do
That's how it's stated now, Diane, that's what we got.
I'd like a chance to speak.
Curtis?
You said a couple things that weren't true. First of all, you have to send everybody a ballot right now.
We did.
We did.
According to our
We
current
did.
covenants.
We did. We
You
did.
would not have to if you change the rules to eliminate those in good standing, right?
To only include those in good standing. We would send it to
So,
members. in
you
good standing.
decide, through your bylaws, you've decided through your rules and your regulations, those are included in things that are in these covenants that says you can use to determine good standing. You've got a whole list there of things that you said were under good
Curtis?
standing, and that's all controlled by the board by a simple majority vote when you change those laws and those bylaws. And you
Curtis?
have changed it twice in the last couple of years for yourself.
Curtis, let me answer,
Yes,
let me
I'll-
answer you, sir. It says right here in Article 8, I don't know, 6 lines down, the term good standing means the owner is current in all dues, assessments, and sums owed the association. This is the covenant change that we're voting on now. If you vote yes on this, this tells you who gets to be a member in good standing. Clear as day, you're voting on this.
And
If
you-
there's a change to this, then the bylaws will have to get updated the same way in
Then
any
why
other.
didn't your letter
Sir, let
say
me
it that
finish.
way?
Sir, let me finish. So if this passes, that means the covenant is the overriding document. Any other reference to any other documents that say member in good standing will be defined as such, written right here on the covenants that the membership's voting on now. Okay,
And it gives you the right to change those rules, those regulations that put a person in and out of good standing.
but the covenants say what good standing is, you vote on the covenants.
We can't make.
And
those
what you
changes.
put in that forward letter had more things in it than just merely whether you paid your dues or not. It included about 5 or 6 different things, so make up your mind. You're gonna put in
Curtis, I
one
read you
thing
what
and
the
you're gonna say
covenants
something
state.
else.
Curtis, I read you what the covenants state. You're
What you
voting on
want
whether this
in
is
your
it or
covenants.
not.
The thing of the matter is, you never want to leave the question of who's in good standing in the hands of the board.
Curtis, I would argue that a member in good standing, if you're a member in good standing, that's your responsibility, not the board's. I pay my dues, I'm a member in good standing. I don't, I'm not. Same for you.
But it's more than that.
Okay, all right.
And it contradicts, by the way, your earlier statements in that same covenant about everybody getting a ballot. You got it in an earlier section.
Today, everybody gets a ballot.
Today.
If this passes, this says only members in good standing vote, Curtis. This is what
Yes,
we're voting on.
But in early portions of that same covenant, it says that everyone gets a ballot. Well, look at it, it's in an earlier section, and the other problem.
Please.
This is just something to think about, Kurt. I don't know if you were in the meeting when it happened, but how this got in here, our counsel said to us, and he was making an observation on what we were doing. And he says, why don't you guys have a member in good standing aspect? Every covenant that I do, and he told us, I don't know if this is true or not, but he told us he did like 530 different property owner associations. He represented them. He says, I don't have one, except you, that doesn't have a member in good standing. And then we just started talking about it. And then it started to make sense. And when you give us, I guess you would call it respect, for having this devious motivation of trying to kick people out, we didn't even think about it, Kurt. We didn't even think about it. Our counsel told us that that ought to be in there because he says, what kind of a world are you in where people who don't pay their dues and who don't obey your rules can control your destiny? That's what he said.
Yes.
And you know what he said to me?
Well,
that
sir,
makes sense.
I believe he told you that, but I also know that when they originally drafted these covenants, there was a reason for it not being included, and one of those reasons must have been something in the order that it was too easy to manipulate that definition, which you have not had up until recently.
Well, those were done for the guy that did the development made those covenants the way he wanted them to keep us as a, not us, I wasn't born when they did the covenants, that was in 1970. But he made those covenants the way he made those covenants to keep us from being able to interfere with what he was trying to do with the development, to make it impossible. He put a 3-year waiting period before anything could happen, which would give him time to craft out the development.
No, that gives the people a chance to sell their lots.
No, that's
they don't agree with
backfill.
the covenants that they've been changed.
Okay, guys, it's getting really late. I gotta get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I don't know anybody
And
else.
you've been
So
comparing
Curtis,
peaches and apples when you sit,
Curtis,
talk
Curtis,
about
please.
voting on
Curtis.
board members, and then you talk about covenants.
Curtis, you've had the floor, you've had the floor, please. Please.
Sit down.
So, we got
Voting for the
5, Curtis,
president
please.
or
Curtis.
voting for
5 more minutes.
constitution change.
Does anybody have anything else to say that hasn't had a chance to speak yet?
The internet doesn't have any questions.
I'm afraid to.
No, don't be afraid. Hang on here.
No,
I'm bigger than most people in this room.
Okay, guys. Jim has the floor.
To Diane's question about the, where'd you go? Oh, about the increases in expenses on the CPI. I just want to kind of give you a memory thing. You guys remember President Nixon when he put on the price controls? And then when he took them off, inflation went crazy. The CPI went nuts, okay? Gerald Ford, whip inflation down. Remember the button the people in his administration were wearing? Trying to stop inflation. It was going crazy. Jimmy Carter, remember the misery index? The inflation rate times unemployment rate? That was the way Reagan characterized him. What I'm saying is the sequence of actual CPI may have made it happen without anything else. Because the CPI since 1972 would make a $30 due $183.38 a year. Because of the sequence during that short period of time, when those huge spikes happened, it could have actually happened with the CPI just by its own self.
I have no quibble with the CPI or the dues or how they were, but I was just saying, it has been said, the covenants were never changed. Well, yes, they were changed
And
to
that's-
accommodate fees of the association.
Diane, that's my misrepresentation though, unintentional. I think the covenants being changed through a formal vote is what I was more focused on. If this,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And I'm learning too, you guys, but what we're trying to do again, we're trying to get the information as we know it to you. Read it, absorb it, come to us, continue to ask questions, talk to your neighbors. If they're confused, tell them to come talk to us. We want to help you guys make the right decision, and whatever that decision is, we want you to voice your choice by actually voting. We'll do these after every board and operations meeting for as long as it makes sense to do so. We'll continue to be visible at the marina, all the fundraising events, all that stuff. Again, the blue shirts will be the indicator to come on up to talk to us. If you have a group of people that are interested in having an open forum and we can get enough people to gain interest and do that, we're open to that too, guys. We're here to help. We're here to help you as a community make a decision one way or the other on this. Whatever it takes, that's what we're willing to do to get you guys to vote. So it is really, it's empowering you. You have the power already, but you've been blocked by the people that choose not to use theirs at all. So with that, unless there's somebody else that wants to say anything, I think we're gonna call that a wrap for tonight. I really appreciate your participation in the discussion. I hope to do this more. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Lord. No, exactly.
No, exactly.
No, I think we're done.
Jeff's gonna be fired anyway.
I can't believe I made a whole, made it through a whole meeting without fire.
I mean, I have to.
Yeah. For the like 20 people watching.